Hey, it's me. Hello and welcome everyone to the Singapore International Open 2024. This is round two for Rachel Breck, who has just started the game with e4. How's it going, everyone? Welcome in. You're tuning in right here at the start. Haven't missed a single move. Give yourselves a pat on the back, bright and early. Rachel giving a nice wave at the camera there, waiting for her opponent to start. She's got time to even tie her shoes. And Joshua starting us off strong with an almond. Welcome in, everyone. How's it going? Happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrated yesterday. Happy Black Friday, I believe, as they call it. Here's your almond, Joshua. Yeah, so 9 a.m. local time. Joel tuning in before bed has commentary in 6 hours. So, yeah, there are 2 rounds today. This is 9 a.m. local for Rachel in Singapore. That's 7 p.m. my time here in St. Louis, Missouri. 14-hour time zone difference. You can go ahead and put that first move on the board. Looks like Rachel's got some coffee, and this might be her opponent. Probably not. Pointing at the clock there. And Rachel just keeps sipping. Anyways, for anyone that missed it, Rachel ended her first game with a draw. Rachel giving us another wave goodbye as she's going to go and perhaps prepare herself even further mentally. We got a peace sign there. Thank you, Joshua. So yes, her opponent is from Singapore. Looks to be rated 1478. So Rachel is the favorite, looking to get a win on the board after her draw. It looks like she was winning in her game. It was a 4 nights game, Scotch, and Rachel ended up getting a good position, but in time pressure, unable to find the conversion and ended with a perpetual that her opponent played. Hello to Jenny. Hello to Fly. Welcome in. Geld Majir as well. Shout out to Rookie helping moderate the channel. We're waiting for our opponent to arrive, so great start so far. Rachel has the lead in the position, as well as the clock, as well as just the presence of being there. Rachel's definitely leading in that category. Great flooring at this event. Look at that carpet. Visually appealing for sure. Getting us some great colors. Rachel also, she's got her pen, her score sheet. She's got her cup of coffee. She's even got a little bag at the top there. Who knows what could be in there. All right, we have perhaps a challenger approaching. Maybe 2 challengers. Maybe it's 2 opponents about to tag team. Or no, perhaps just spectators speculating on which chair is going to make the next move. Well, we see it's the black piece's turn to move. Perhaps it is the chair that is deep in contemplation here, already on move 1. Will we see e5? Or perhaps a Scandi? Or a Sicilian? Nay, it could be a French or a Caro. It could be a Pierz, Aliekin. Rachel returning, giving us another luck, another peace sign. Absolutely posing for us. What a treat. Providing entertainment despite the lack of responses. Rookie asking Jenny for some commentary. That would be very exciting. What's up, Dijen? Welcome in. Opponent not here, L. We see Rachel sending us signs. Literally. It's okay. We will take the time odds. But hopefully they do arrive, as we all would love to see a match be played. Yes, many Europeans unable to find rest at these times. Hello, Prometheus. Hello, No Friction. Maybe he forgot there was a morning round. This is round 2. First round of the second day. They started yesterday, starting off the event. Lots of chess happening in Singapore right now. I heard this might be one of the most anticipated games in Singapore. Lots of people flying in from all around the world just to get a glimpse of Rachel playing in the Singapore International Open 2024. Yeah, welcome in. If you're tuning in from Phoebe's 18-hour stream, what a marathon. Of course, she's celebrating 18,000 followers. She's already passed 20K, so perhaps another celebratory stream is due. She just got off her first defeat against the Chess Bras in a sub battle. Am I going to be doing round 3 commentary? No. I am commentating tomorrow for another exciting event with hopefully a well-rested Phoebe Vita, who will be joining me for Creator Cup commentary. I believe we are in the semifinals. Joshua following Rachel. Appreciate that. Welcome in. Let me know if those alerts were too loud. I don't really know. I'm going to turn that down maybe a little bit. They're mostly bots. That's okay, Dijon. I'm one of them. Thanksgiving was good. Yeah, I did share some food pics in the Discord server. If you guys like pumpkin pie, my aunt made it from scratch. Grew the pumpkins herself. Pretty incredible stuff. And it tasted great. Can't wait to have more leftovers. Perhaps after this broadcast, we might have some food pics, not feet pics. I know the Twitch viewers might enjoy that. Probably not from me. But who knows? There's some interesting folks out there. Hello, Uncle Jesse. Shout out to Jesse. Welcome in. Did I bring enough pie to share with the chat? Well, I might not have brought enough pie to share with everyone. However, I do want to point out we do have pie for subscribers in the form of a sub badge. As you can see, some of our subscribers are rocking the pie badge. Perhaps a different pie than you would consume, but a pie of the numerical sort, the pie symbol. Rachel won already after e4. Well, she is a winner in our books, but she has not yet won. I don't know the forfeit rules of this tournament. Some tournaments, in my experience, they give you about 30 minutes. Some might even be up to an hour. I would say at the latest, you'd have the full hour and a half, but it looks like we have a challenger approaching, and here we go. Handshake. Opponents making their first move, and it does appear to be c6 on the board, a Caro. We've got Rachel responding knight to c3, keeping her time advantage. So we've got a fight at our hands here. Ladies and gentlemen, the game is underway. The opponent has arrived, and following up, we've got d5, the typical response in a Caro. Now, interestingly, Rachel confidently, quickly, does not go with the main line. Typically, you would like to go d4, but instead, Rachel, starting with the knights here, focusing on piece development. We have a trade in the center. Pawn takes e4, knight recaptures. And now it is black, bring a knight into the center, knight f6, contesting. Rachel's knight, we could see a trade. Thank you, Philemon. Welcome in. Hello, Iron Wolf. Luckily, our opponent has arrived, so we don't have to stare at the chairs. And Rachel goes for this trade. Knight takes. Opponent recaptures with the central pawn, opening up for the dark square bishop, keeping the kingside pawns intact, perhaps for a kingside castle later. If you're late, does the arbiter tell you to make a move even if the opponent is late? It depends on the arbiter, perhaps, but all the clocks should start. That way you can know how late someone is. Hello, Screws. What an honor to have you here. Bishop to c4 has been played, getting ready to castle kingside. But yes, if your opponent is late, you should start your game. You should make the first move if you're white. Or if you're black, you should just start the clock. Either way, the games should start regardless of the presence of the players. And it's important to make sure that the clock is ticking, because that way you know just how late someone is. Now, as some of you might have seen, there's been many tournaments where players will delay as long as possible and not move or start the clock. And that's because they're trying to be nice and let their opponent catch up and start with even time. But these multiple round tournaments, typically you need everyone to start on time, especially Blitz. Obviously, this is not Blitz. This is classical. But still, I think at the end of the day, players should arrive on time, should not have to put their opponents into that position. But opponents should try to take full advantage as best they can. But, you know, some players, they don't like having that sort of initial advantage. Similar to playing with odds, time odds in this case. And yeah, I think Rachel did the right thing. She just started the clock, and honestly, it's not even that big of a deal. Opponent has, I think, they were late like 5 minutes or something. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. So yeah, overall, not too significant of a disadvantage. This is a 90 plus 30 game. So both sides have an hour and a half with 30-second increment. We see both players electing to castle kingside. Yeah, we get the top-down view. As you all can see, this is not one of those fancy DGT boards, so we are having to relay the moves ourselves. Not a problem, though, because we got a great top-down view of this board. A simple h3 from Rachel. That's going to prevent this light square bishop from pinning the knight. Very solid. And at some point, I'm expecting the d pawn to push. Opponent takes the completely open e-file with their rook, rook e8. And now, as I was mentioning, I think a pawn push from Rachel here. She needs to complete her development by bringing out her dark square bishop. So d4, d3, very logical. The computer likes c3 to play d4. Black also has some development to do. They have to bring out their knight and their bishop still before they can bring the queen out and connect their rooks. When you've played a caro and there's a pawn on c6, that makes it a little bit more difficult for the knight to come out. You don't want to bring the knight out to d7 because that's going to block the bishop. So perhaps the bishop will come to f5, and then the knight will come out. But first, Rachel must make her move. She's contemplating her plan. Does she want to push the d-pawn 1 square, 2 squares, or perhaps bring out another piece or another pawn? Jessie says that she would find a way to run out of time still. I wouldn't put it past you, Jessie, but I do want to say it's a lot more time than you've ever played with. So you should give it a try and see. I think if you flag in a classical time control, I would be proud that you'd played classical at all. And honestly, it means that you made it to an end game, at least. So that would also be exciting. And I know Jesse's been looking at some classical tournaments, so stay tuned for that. Fans are heavily anticipating. Perhaps 2025 will be the year. Perhaps. Or perhaps we'll be surprised and see a tournament competed in before the end of 2024. I know there's a big one coming up in Vegas, the North American Open. Rachel's made her move, d4 on the board. Lovely move, opening up for her dark square bishop, taking control of the center. Hello, Whiskey. Welcome in. And we see the knight coming out to d7. So the opponent must not have fancied bishop to f5. Otherwise, that would have been a very, very solid move to play first. That being said, this knight likely will reroute to either b6 or to f8, and the bishop will still have a chance to come out. b6, I think, is the more natural move, putting pressure on the bishop, perhaps forcing the bishop to tuck back, and then bringing the bishop out to perhaps e6, contesting the bishop. But knight can go to f8 still. As they say, knight on f8, there is no mate. Key defender of h7, but the knight can also reroute perhaps to g6 at some point. So options here for black. Often with d4, you can see the bishop come back to d3. You could see the pawn go to c3. The bishop could tuck back to either b1 or c2, and we could see the queen step up for battery. So chances there for sure. When the rook moves to the e file, that can sometimes weaken f7, but f7 is not so easily attacked by another piece. You could see this pawn that recaptured on f6 does a good job of boxing out the knight's forward moves. That being said, I think c3, queen b3 is another possible route to get there. So we'll see. Rachel is on the clock. She's got some extra time to use, and so she's putting it to use. She's coming up with her next plan here. Does she want to bring the dark square bishop out now after she's pushed the d-pawn, or does she want some other move like c3? Prometheus raising a good point. Being flagged the other day in classical, the world champion. All right, c3 has been played. When is it good to play h3 to prevent the pinning of the horse, or as some would call it, the horsey? When is that a waste of tempo compared to developing the queenside? Great question from Screws. I think h3 is a great move as soon as the bishop is able to come to g4. That is a move that I like to invest a lot of times, because when the bishop comes to g4, you oftentimes see white plays h3 anyways. But by then, perhaps it's too late as the bishop just maintains the pin. So I like h3. It also creates a flight square. Now, obviously, right now, the bishop covers h2, but this bishop probably won't always be on d6. And also, sometimes the queen likes to attack that pawn, so by pushing the pawn, it's no longer a target. How would you compare the carpet to the floors you've enjoyed in your own OTB tournaments? Well, a lot of the tournaments I've played in are in Vegas, and they're typically pretty nice playing halls, the large conference rooms in the hotels, with, the big chandeliers. But I did comment this definitely is some fancy carpet, so I'm appreciative of the floor decoration. Definitely, we've got a good angle for it. So Rachel has made her move, giving her pieces great options on the light squares. Bishop can come back either path. Queen can go forward to a couple different areas. Do they serve free drinks at the Vegas tournaments? Typically, they have water stations where they've got those giant jugs like you'd see in an office, the water cooler, if you will. And they've got stacks of cups that you can take and fill. Typically, I like to bring my water bottle to minimize the plastic use. And also, this is definitely a much larger bottle than the plastic cups that they give. Welcome in, Riley. How's it going? Yeah, Rachel's opponent actually showed up a little late, so Rachel is enjoying a time advantage. I know time pressure was a significant factor in her first round where she drew. So we'll see if this time difference is going to be significant. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but every minute does add up. It does count for something. So better to be on time and up on time than to be late and down on time. So Rachel has a great start and looks like she's returned. And our opponent elected to bring the knight backwards to f8. This was one of the options that we discussed, a little bit more passive. But I do think that this bishop is going to come out somewhere now that the knight has left that diagonal. Jessie, if she flags classical OTB, she can say that she was inspired by Ding Liren in the World Chess Championship. We all know Jessie is definitely taking inspiration from such high-level play. Everyone really should be following along. I definitely know the score. They've played at least 4 games. Don't ask me if they've played more. Rachel just gave a glance there. I think also Rachel mentioned perhaps in her post-game interview that the stream has a factor of her performance. So she's definitely aware. She knows that she's got some additional pressure, right? She's got an audience. She's got a lot of fans tuning in, supporting her. And I believe this is the first tournament over the board that she's ever streamed. So props to her for getting this valuable experience. And hopefully now that the first round is done, she can get some of those nerves and jitters out of the way. So Hoping we're going to see a great game here from Rachel. Definitely want to take advantage of the rating difference between her and her opponent. All of Jesse's inspiration is from Joe Bruin. You know, Jesse says that as a compliment, but now I can see why Jesse's rating isn't as high as her potential. So perhaps in our next lesson, we can show her some games of the greats, like the World Chess Championship games. There's a lot to learn from that. That is something that I like to recommend to beginner players that are learning. Besides playing and reviewing your games, of course, and doing tactics, I highly recommend that you watch stronger players compete. And there's a plethora of content on YouTube to check out. All right, Rachel, taking a sip. Looks like it's pretty hot. I think I saw some steam coming out. This is a great angle, so we can see what's inside the cup. A lot of times you don't get this angle, so you got to speculate if it's coffee or if it's tea. I've been saying coffee. Honestly, it might be tea. Tea is pretty popular in Asia and Europe, but I know coffee is also pretty popular. I think Gukesh has always been the favorite, except maybe after game one. But yeah, out of 4 games, we have 2 decisive results. That's pretty exciting. Looks like T to Ginny. So, yeah, we can trust Ginny as the resident expert. How much time did he lose? I think he lost like 5 minutes. Like, it wasn't significant. Knight f8, no mate. That is true. King Wiki. So, in fact, there is no checkmate in one move. I used the computer analysis to determine that. As you can see, the eval bar is roughly even. So neither side has blundered mate yet, but perhaps in a few hours we'll see the conclusion. So buckle up. We're about to have quite the exciting thrill. Feel free to put on a movie. Or, you know, you can start your AFK RuneScape grind now as you tune in. I do know that they just started leagues a few days ago. Where are my OSRS fans at? Just kidding. Yes. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Thank you, Screws, for taking your time to be here. What an absolute honor and a pleasure. I really took a gamble. You know, Rachel asked if I was going to give commentary, and I said, is Screws going to be in the chat? And she said, I can't guarantee it, but there's a good chance that he would. And so I took the gamble. I took the risk. I said, you know what? Screws might just show up. And am I really going to let him show up and me not be there? Couldn't risk it. That being said, I will not commentate for Rachel for a majority of the remaining rounds. So my apologies in advance to Screws in particular and to anyone else that was looking forward to it. Now, I will say this. I shall return for more commentary for the Singapore International Open on Monday, my time, which is probably Tuesday, Rachel's time. but that should be round 6. And I should be joined by another internationally recognized, world famous commentator. I could have you all guess. If someone guesses it right, I may or may not say yes, confirming the allegations. Uncle Jesse, they have a start time. So this round started at 9 a.m. local time. So that is the amount of time that you're given to start the game. Um, Now they start the clock, but you're asking if they have a certain amount of time to get to the board. The answer is typically yes, as I uh, remember in events that I've played in. Sometimes they give you 30 minutes, sometimes they give you an hour. It really depends on the event, the time control, or maybe even just the arbiter. I'm not sure what the official rule is for this particular event, but this guy showed up definitely well within a reasonable amount of time, I'd say. Is this the Tartakower? I actually don't know. I do know that it was a Karo Khan, as Rachel started us off with e4 and her opponent replied with c6. Beyond that, I couldn't tell you. Screws drawn to my commentary like a moth to a porch light. And just like that, my commentary could put you to an eternal sleep. So watch out. You might think you like it, but when it's all said and done, you might feel burned. You've been warned. Anyways. Rachel's down on time. Rachel has been thinking a lot on this particular move. Knight f8, not particularly demanding. And Rachel has a very flexible position. So what I mean by that is she's got a lot of options. And when you have a lot of options, that could take a lot of time. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Rachel's just put her hair up, so you know she means business. That's going to help her focus. With all the hair in the way, it really distracts you. That's why I keep my hair short. Otherwise, I'd grow it out. It'd be very long. But unfortunately, I gotta make sure I can see the chess pieces when I'm at the board. And here we go. Bishop back to b3. Rachel has made her move. She's basically loading the bishop like a gun, right? It's about to come back. She's going to be locked and loaded. That's going to be a dangerous battery. However, knight on f8, as they say, no mate. So black's definitely very solid, but so is white. This bishop would like to come out somewhere, perhaps to e3. Rook to e1, queen up somewhere. Who knows? And we have ourselves a game, a positional battle here. You need to see me with flow. Yeah, that's, I mean, I had a wig for Gandalf for Halloween. But other than that, you might need to ask Photoshop or AI. Because I don't have a lot of flow. Neither on my head or good flow with my singing career. That unfortunately didn't work out for me. So right now, all you've got is Joe with no flow. They call me the no flow Joe. One of my many nicknames. You think I would rock a mustache or a beard, but not both. No, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. I'm typically trying to stay clean shaven because I don't think I look very good with facial hair. Now if I could grow a better beard or mustache, then I would like to uh keep my facial hair out, but I don't think it's very good. Now, if you guys noticed, No Shave November, Eric Rosen has not been shaving. So Rosen's been rocking the beard as of late. I recommend all of you go check him out. Not just for the beard, of course, but for the fantastic chess content as he's been known for. But what a treat we've had this month. November, I believe, is Men's Health Awareness Month. So shout out to all the guys out there. Definitely try to stay healthy. All right, our opponent has made a move. Bishop to f5, and now he gets up and he walks away. And that could be the last time we see him. Who knows? He might think that the game is over. The odds of that are small, but not zero. So we will see if he returns. It took him a while initially. So sorry guys, I might be kind of expressing my anxiety of separation. I don't know. Usually when older father figures leave, I just kind of, you never know, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to get burned twice. You know, this guy is already a little late. Just kidding. That was a joke. Nobody take me too seriously. For anyone that has just met me, if this is your first time seeing me, first off, my apologies. But second off, nothing I say is too serious. Okay. Camera flashed for a second. And now, if I had anxiety to start, I mean, oh boy. If the camera goes down, we're on a sinking ship. All right? Because I got to see what they're moving to put the moves on the board. So you're all in it with me. Luckily, our opponent has returned with something in his pocket. I don't know. All right. And we get to see he's zipping up the jacket. Lovely angle, I gotta say. When they give you a camera angle like this, you just gotta roll with it. You gotta take advantage of the view. There he goes. Look at that. Cleans. Okay. Brought it back down. A quarter zip, if you will. Oh, and he's got a drink too, but it's off camera slightly, but I saw it. It looks similar to what Rachel's drinking, which would make sense, but perhaps with some extra cream. If I had to venture a guess. King Wiki speculating if black will sacrifice on h3. It's very possible after bishop f5, obviously not sacrificing right away, but perhaps paving the way for the queen to develop to d7 and hinting at a potential sacrifice. Very risky giving up a piece, but you would have to make sure that you have some sort of follow-up. Whether or not it's there, I'm unsure. But perhaps with the knight joining the equation, you could see the knight trying to trade off this knight, which is one of the key defenders of h2. If this queen and bishop could ever coordinate on that square, that could spell disaster for white's king. But we are quite a ways away from that moment. That being said, Bishop f5 is a nice move, taking over this strong diagonal. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rachel already tries to contest that with a bishop trade. Instead, she follows her development, bishop to e3. And yes, we can see computers actually liking black's chances with this queen following up with the battery. So let's see if he goes for this plan and how Rachel wants to react. Typically against these sacrifices, king h2 helps offer extra support over the h3 pawn. However, not possible because of the bishop here. So bishop to b3, perhaps kind of a waste of a tempo here, because once the bishop gets to f5, if she tries to trade off, she could have traded off on d3, and the queen would recapture perhaps on a better, more advanced centralized square on d3 as opposed to on c2. So bishop e3, I suspect Rachel could have played this a little sooner. And now, after the black queen steps up in the battery, Rachel's going to have to significantly contemplate whether or not black seriously would capture on h3 twice, trying to bring the queen in for an attack. Rachel is 1,700 FIDE, it is true. Joe is clowning today. Jesse, well, I've been called a clown many times before. I just don't have the makeup on. But it doesn't make me any less of a clown. Bouncing. Shout out to Bouncing, contributing with the chatting activities here, saying that it's very dangerous. Basically just wins immediately the sacrifice on h3. So computer says it's roughly -1 already in black's favor. After queen c8, it likes a little bit better than queen to d7. I couldn't tell you why. But, you know, the computer's gonna computer. And I think that's the official term for the calculation. Anyways, we don't see that. We see that black goes for bishop back to c7. And instead of loading the queen up behind the light square bishop, black actually, it seems like, wants to load the queen up in front of the dark square bishop. Maybe this bishop is going to slither its way back for a pin on the knight and try to take advantage of this knight's defense of h2 and line the queen up this way. So, not the most testing continuation according to the engine. And Rachel, she's let her hair back down, but she's put her hands up, giving her laser focus on the board, minimizing any visual distractions from the side. So another chance in this position here for Rachel to make her move. Computer is suggesting d5 as a move, opening up the center, trying to get the queen in. It also likes rook e1, very solid move choice here. Did she get out prepped? I suspect neither player is in prep right now. Is Bouncing commentating this weekend? That's a great question, Screws. Bouncing says, I believe no, although Farzi and Rachel did ask earlier. So, yeah, Bouncing, one of the best commentators there is, obviously very high in demand, but being as famous and busy as he is, very limited with his time to commentate. But fortunately, He is tuning in today in chat, giving us some quick thoughts on the position. What would my clown name be? It similarly might just be No Flow Joe still. Not sure though. Haven't thought too much on it. Sack on h3 now. Why not Queen d7 first? No, I don't think they would go for this sacrifice. Yeah, Queen d7 or Queen c8. The computer really liked a move prior, but our opponent just brought the bishop back on c7. Bouncing has finals. Good luck on those. A very busy student. Rachel also is a student. I don't know how much the people know, but I do believe I can share that Rachel is a student. So she is also taking on some studies, and she's in Singapore. Should be returning back to the States somewhat soon. It's not the sacrifice is no longer good. We didn't want the sacrifice. We wanted the queen to step up to threaten the sacrifice. That's what the plan was. Black didn't do that. So now the sacrifice isn't good because the queen isn't following up the bishop. So there was never a moment where black seriously was considering taking on h3. But if the queen were to have gone to c8 or d7, then that sacrifice would have been much more of a legitimate opportunity. Masked, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. I see we have the Joe Mama host command. Yeah, I was basically telling Rachel that, I don't really need one or whatever she wanted to do. So we've got the Joe Mama command. Very nice. Oh, yeah, Joe King is a great clown name. That makes sense. Screws is much funnier than I am, so that's why he's able to come up with the good jokes on the fly. Speaking of coming up with things on the fly, neither player being in prep, Rachel's got to figure out how is she going to play and continue. Computer likes d5 or rook e1. I suspect she's probably going to go queen d2. If I had to venture a guess, queen d2, maybe bishop to f4, but I'm expecting black will follow up with d6. But I do like rook d2, bring both rooks to e and d. I think is a very logical idea to complete development. Rachel's got the hands back on the face, dialing in. No commentators for rounds 3 or 4. So is Rachel just going to have the camera still? Or no stream? Yeah, my apologies, Fly. Just a matter of expression. Didn't mean it literally, physically. Meant it figuratively. Camera only. Well, maybe Rookie could give some commentary if I could offer Rookie. Or maybe even having the board with the eval bar could be helpful. Is there a sign up, Iron Wolf? I'm not sure. Hello, Paladin. Good to see you. Welcome in. This is Rachel's round 2 of the Singapore International Open 2024. One of the bigger events in Singapore compared to other things going on right now. It's up there. This might be one of the most viewed chess games from Singapore this month. Okay, c4 has been played. c4 also very logical, following the idea of bishop b3. So I was mentioning bishop b3 might have been not the best move instead of playing bishop e3. And every tempo really adds up. But c4 and d4, this is one of the classic pawn duos. And after a move like queen to d6, you could use that c pawn to kick the queen off that diagonal. Shout out to Jenny. Jenny making sure she's tuning in on all of the chats. We are streaming this in multiple occasions. Rookie's hard to budge. Allow me to be the first to recommend Screws as a commentator. Just kidding. I know Screws has many supporters, many fans around the world. Honestly, like, I thoroughly enjoyed Screws' commentary. Making sure to point out all of the mugs. She commentated, of course, for Phoebe. Okay, queen d6 played. And now, of course, Rachel can play in the center with her pawn duo. Either d5 or c5. Computer likes both. You've been asking Screws as well. Screws, are you free in 6 hours? Rachel might need a commentator. Fly will also say Screws is a good commentator. Hello, Kleinbottle. Hello to Zoomja. Yeah, bishop e4, another good idea. Perhaps one of the threats in the position. What time is round 3, round 4? So, it's a good question. I know round 2 is right now. This is technically 9 a.m. for her. I guess close to 10 a.m. now. But this is only 8 p.m. for me, which right now is 6 p.m. for bouncing. Unless he's moved. But yes, Rachel anticipated this. And so now she's very timely with c4, c5, kicking the queen off its post. So no longer threatening any checkmating ideas on h2 before the knight could get kicked somehow. I had mentioned this idea, bishop back to h5, of course, taking an extra move compared to the immediate bishop e4. So good idea there from King Wiki, and good idea here from Rachel, kicking the queen away. So you would suspect perhaps queen d7 following up with this original idea. And the computer still likes us just playing d5 and not being too worried about a sacrifice on h3. The computer here now, though, is saying queen e7, perhaps a slightly stronger move. Yes, today is a double round. She has 2 rounds today. Apparently tomorrow's not, which I wouldn't have guessed. Yeah, I wasn't anticipating c4 either fly, but it's been solid so far here for Rachel. Screws losing your voice. I hope you're not sick. And either way, I hope you either find your voice or feel better soon. Luckily, Screws is able to still type in chat, which is one of the greatest pleasures in all of Twitch, to see what Screws has to say, of course. A man with many insights. Tomorrow, Rachel runs a half marathon, then plays her round 2 hours later. That is such a Rachel thing to do. Rachel, truly a person of many talents. Honestly, wouldn't expect anything less from her. Jenny, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah, half marathon. That's really incredible stuff. Rachel also has shared some videos on her stream of her singing and playing instruments. Auto Rocks, thanks for the follow. Rachel, very into sports, very athletic, full-time student, extracurriculars, athletics, instruments, music. She does it all. Streaming, of course, something that she's been very into lately, providing the action. She's also one of the competitors in the Collegiate Chess League, as she's streamed her matches many times. She's been on the College Chess Podcast recently. If you want to go check that out on YouTube, it's on the Collegiate Chess League channel. Looks like the board is a bit behind. Yeah, my apologies. The queen did play d7. The board is not electric. It's straight up just me making the moves. So you're gonna have to deal with my my lag there. Okay, so queen d7 has been played, and now Rachel has to kind of decipher whether or not black would actually sacrifice on h3 or not. And frankly, there's not really a good way to prevent that from happening, right? Because you can't play king h2 because this bishop is here. So the computer is saying that there's only one serious move for white, and that is the move d5. Now d5 comes with a serious threat of playing d6, I think. And it's actually saying that after d5, black should take on h3. And then you just play d6. So this is a sharp position. And there's not a lot of paths forward for white to maintain an even position. So if she doesn't play d5, it's going to already shoot to -1. Not that big of a deal, but can definitely be worrisome if Rachel isn't precise, right? Because the sacrifice on h3, I think, is pretty serious. Computer saying the second best move is knight h4, which is -1. Knight h4 is not an attractive move because I guess after the sacrifice, your knight's hanging, h2 is hanging. So, like, I don't know. But the computer's not even saying to sacrifice after knight h4. It's saying that you can play bishop to e4. Just boxing the knight out. Yeah, I'm sure Rachel's feeling some pressure here. She's going to have to come up with some defense. She's just under an hour on the clock. How bad is G4? Ooh, G4, I'm sure they're just going to sacrifice. All right, shall we look at some moves while we wait for a move of her own? G4, bishop takes. This is forced mate in 9, apparently. Queen H3, King G1, and now Rook E4. Womp womp. I think that's what they say. Not fun. Not fun. So let's look at yeah, bishop C2 is also possible. Yeah, D5 is what the computer wants. Bishop takes. D6. I would guess like bishop A5. But no, the computer wants queen G4. Knight E1. Offering this queen trade. Bishop A5 now. Queen F3. Okay. Yeah. The computer is the computer. Neither player is a computer. But yeah, that's the computer wants D4 or D5, D6. If you play bishop C2 and they sacrifice, this is still good for black. It wants D5 now, but yeah, I'm not a fan of, like, why not just play like this? Are we gonna take this? Oh, we have queen F5. Okay, but here it likes G6, takes that away. Okay, let's look at another move. We're saying knight H4, sacrifice. Yeah, it still wants D5. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this knight H4. Not a good move, really. Yeah, it looks like it wants D5 in like every line. And I think it just wants the queen to be able to try to trade off. Spicy. Yeah, she's seeing the sacrifice here. So I feel like rook E1 also feels kind of a natural move. Of course, the sacrifice still gonna come, right? But now, can we play... Like, I don't know what exactly the threat is. I guess just rook here, huh? What does it want? Bishop D2. She could find D5, but it's a tricky spot for sure. Maybe she'll realize that this bishop is most of the cause of concern, and that's why you need D5, D6. That's one way you could find it. What would I play in a blitz game? Well, it's pretty hard to find out. Yeah, here it still likes D5, but like interestingly, D5 it wants bishop takes right now. What was the idea here that someone had? Oh, now it's just, wow, now c5. Okay. Okay. I mean, what if this just queen takes? No, you get mated, of course. So you got to take this guy, this guy, this guy. Yeah, that's good. That's good for us, right? Oh, I didn't want this. It wanted to take here. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, this is just black's bishops are pretty good, right? So maybe I think after knight here, I think even now bishop d3 or even here bishop to d3, like this bishop on f5 became very annoying. But also like if you prevent f5 or even like queen up or something like that, there's still bishop here or bishop here, queen here, but you could see you're taking away some of these important squares. Rachel has just played a move. She played d5. Brilliant. So she's found the best move at a great time. Very important defensive resource here from Rachel, showing her prowess on the board, needing this resource to maintain the position. Otherwise, the sacrifice was going to be too much. So d6 is now going to be an option for her. Interestingly, c takes, and my idea was to take back with the queen, but the computer actually likes bishop a4. So, of course, you know, you get a skewer there, which is nice. No, the computer doesn't want to capture, not for that reason, but because it actually wants to take on h3. And there, Rachel needs to reply with d6. And when I say she needs to, if she doesn't, then it likes black, but not by too much. She could take on h3, queen takes, and then she could play d6, which is going to be pretty important there. But it likes this move rook e4 still, right? And now we have the move knight h2, guarding this square. And now it likes rook h4. That's pretty annoying. Bishop f4, rook takes. Do we take on c7 now? And then rook back to h4? Oh my goodness. What are we doing, guys? Queen d6? Oh my gosh. It's too much. Rook h5. That's the only move. It's to threaten rook here. But like, what if like king h1? What does it want? Bishop d1? Oh my god. Does that work? King here. Oh, queen of 3. Brutal. Okay. Okay. Sorry, let's come back to reality for just a moment here. Opponent hasn't sacrificed yet. d5. Great question from Rachel. Are you sure you want to sacrifice on h3? And this guy is like, man, I thought I wanted to sacrifice on h3, but do I really want to sacrifice on h3? Any updates on the beverage situation? Rachel's been at a solid pace of consumption. We can no longer see the liquid in the cup. Although, I assure you, there probably still is some left in there. And we'll see whether or not Rachel takes another sip to confirm that. Otherwise, she might have to go and refill. Oh, here we go. Another sip. But she is getting near the bottom. So we'll have to keep you updated there. Meanwhile, our opponent hasn't taken a sip in a while, and his beverage is off camera, so we unfortunately cannot see. But maybe we can have a sip counter added with a chat bot in Twitch chat, and then we can see how many sips it takes to get to the bottom of the cups they provide. Are we sure she's 1700? That is what all signs lead us to believe. Rachel is kind of like Ding, it's true. They're both in Singapore. Thank you, No Friction. Anonymous gifting to Riley. Huge. Thank you. Much appreciated. So she should be proud of herself. This is a really, really top class move from Rachel. We see the capture. This is not the best by the opponent. Allowing a skewer. We'll see if she either recaptures or if she goes bishop a4. Going for the rook. She could win an exchange here. But still, kind of a little scary considering your bishop could be an important defender of the light squares in the future. Giving it up for the rook, which is going to come from the corner. Recapturing one of those important attackers in a lot of these sacrifice lines. So Rachel has a chance here to win an exchange, but the opponent still has the bishop pair and still has a lot of sacrifices they could go for. Yeah, after bishop a4, of course, there's b5, allowing for en passant. That would be a big blunder. Hopefully, Rachel would see this is now a double attack on the bishop and on the queen, skewer rook. So that would win her a lot of material. If the opponent doesn't realize en passant is possible. Now, as a commentator, I shall operate under the assumption that the opponent knows what en passant is. So b5 as a response to bishop a4 is unlikely. However, it is possible. And if it's possible, I should definitely talk about it. Speaking of things that are possible, she could recapture on d5, and the opponent could play queen to c8, blundering mate in 2. I'm just saying, it's possible. This game could end in just 3 moves. I don't know if it could finish faster than that. But I guess you could see resigns. All right, she's consumed her drink and is either throwing away her cup or getting more. And I'm going to guess she's getting more. But perhaps the chat disagrees. Oh, she already played bishop a4. Okay. Fantastic. She's getting an exchange. So opponent hasn't played b5 yet. Perhaps the opponent is going to test her knowledge of en passant or not. Hello, Hare. Welcome in. You're tuning in for round 2 of Rachel's Singapore International Open 2024. You can see she's got quite the position here. She's found the amazing d5 pawn break, which allowed her to open up this diagonal, which she is using to the fullest potential to win an exchange. So this is good news for Rachel, but she's not through the thick of it just yet. We might have a potential sacrifice on h3. So we're expecting queen e6 under the assumption that the opponent wants to keep the queen and the bishop on the same diagonal. The only other square that would allow that would be to go to c8, which is very suboptimal considering you're putting the queen on the back rank, and you're also disconnecting the two rooks. So after Rachel captures that rook, you'd prefer the second rook to recapture. So queen e6 fulfills all of the check marks of keeping pressure on h3, but also staying out of the way of the second rook to recapture. That being said, queen e6, bishop takes, rook takes. Rachel yet again has to deal with this. However, here we have this very nice knight d4, which would then give us a fork on the queen and bishop, allowing for the bishop pair to be taken off the board. However, I will want to point out queen to e5, and after knight takes bishop, we end the game this way, queen to h2 checkmate. So in that situation, probably you go back to f3, and now you have a repetition offered. But of course, Rachel, being up in exchange here, would not repeat and play something like rook e1, and the game would continue. That being said, let us take us all back to this line here. Let me promote this. Promote this. Queen e6 has been played. And now Rachel should take the rook. When's my next OTB tourney, Pandas? I am not scheduled to take one, unfortunately. But rest assured, when I do, I will say something. Also, Gifter, I'm just now realizing it was a tier 3 sub to Riley. Huge. Thank you once again. I did get the alerts added to the stream, but I think it might just be followers. I don't know if I saw a sub alert. But okay. Opponent has made their move. Rachel has not returned with her drink. Perhaps there was a line. But we're back to the chair versus chair action here. Perhaps some of the most exciting action of the whole tournament. So, and just like that, our opponent has returned. Didn't give his chair much of a chance to really think it through. Rachel, meanwhile, gave her chair plenty of opportunity to assess the position, and looks like she's returned with a drink. I don't know if it's the same drink. It looks lighter. I don't know if it's the same drink plus cream. It very well could be. She might have seen her opponent having the drink with cream, saying, that was a good move. I'm going to copy that. Or maybe when she initially got it, there was no cream. And only then, after the refill, was it available. Anyways, she has returned and she's busted out a top level move. Bishop takes e8. The computer actually liked knight d4 first, I think. Or, I mean, there's a lot of good moves, but taking, I think, is the most logical. He recaptures with the rook, of course. Got up and came back pretty quickly. Rachel taking another sip. He's going to go and probably refill his drink. So they're really battling it out both on the board and in the beverage department. So lots of layers to unpack here. Yeah, I think both chairs are identical. So I can't really give any of them a chair advantage. But Rachel definitely has the hair advantage because she has more of it. So she definitely put her hair up earlier. She's let it back down, flexing on the opponent the fact that she could do that. Meanwhile, our opponent definitely more limited in his hair abilities. It's important to talk about hair, not only because we have hair in the chat, but because this stream is sponsored by, oh, I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored. If you're looking to sponsor a chess tournament, please contact Rookie. We could use a DGT board. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's a lot of work to be able to look at the board and then make the move on another board. Right? We've got two boards. That's frankly too many. They could have just played this online from the comfort of their own home. The guy probably wouldn't have been late, but you got to put it in person, and now, you know, don't even get me started. Just kidding. Okay, how old is the opponent? Uh, I think Fide said that his opponent was born like 19, was it 63? I don't know. There should be a command for it. Maybe opponent command. Opponent is 62. Well, yeah, so he has light hair with dark jacket. She's got a light jacket with dark hair. So they're pretty, color coded. Their jackets matching their pieces and their hair matching their opponent's pieces. There's like a fancy chess set. Some of you might know what I'm talking about, where like the tops of the bishops are the opposite color. Rookie 1 has been played. A very decent move. Lining up the rook opposite the queen and the other rook. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Well, Joe, what if they sacrifice? Yes, but look at this move. If I could gather your attention for a moment here. Bishop to f4. Look at that. That is a discovery. Now, queen to g4. And now we're in time to play bishop g3. Stopping checkmate on g2. So now if they take, we very importantly have to take on h3. Because otherwise we're kind of in trouble. So bishop h2, that's going to be not very fun. Okay. Would she find that? She's got the time for it. Friendly, thanks for the follow. Hello, Abdul Roof. I am doing well. How are you? Appreciate you. Bishop f4, very gangster as far as gangster moves go. All right, rook e1. We're going to promote this line. And we wait and we see. Rachel, honestly, you guys, she could have been in a world of hurt, but she found d5. What a nice move. Maintaining the advantage, leading to the opponent capturing, giving up an exchange. The computer's top line was to sacrifice on h3. Now it no longer works because bishop to f4. So if the opponent sacrifices now, will Rachel find the bishop sacrifice discovery skewer attempt? That's what we call it. Very, very high level. I think they talk about it in some higher level books that I haven't read. I've only heard rumors of it. Thank you, rookie. Yeah, he was born in 63. Age is 62. So he's about to turn 63. Which I don't know if there's like a special name for that when your age is the same as your birth year. I know people have like their golden birthdays or something. I don't know. I don't know what people celebrate. um, anyways. I did want to point out there was this other line we were looking at, bishop to d4, which would allow queen here. And then you'd have to come back to f3. And then you'd be in the same situation as you are now. So, interestingly, she didn't elect for this. She just started with rook e1 immediately. And almost daring the opponent to take on h3. You don't think it's a thing? What do we think of the carpet? I'm a fan. Jenny, one of the world-class commentators. I gotta, does Jenny stream? When was Jenny's last stream? Imagine Screws and Jenny commentary together. The rhymes through the roof. Off the charts. Jenny, now that she's finished her thesis, perhaps we can see some more streams. Perhaps. Those are some cool score sheets. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen score sheets like that. Honestly, I like the smaller ones, but that's just what I'm used to, I think. With the carbon copy. Maybe we should make it happen. That's the plan. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking forward to. What's up, Bishop Stars? Rook e1. Beautiful move. And yeah, I really do think the bishop f4 is going to be one of the top resources in her back pocket that she can use. That's the plan. When you line up the rook opposite the queen, expect greatness from Rachel, because that's absolutely what we're getting here. We're getting nothing less than a display of the top quality moves available to her. Not much can get past Rachel. She's locked in. She probably saw this before the opponent played their first move. That's why you want to show up on time, because if you give Rachel even just 5 minutes being late, that's GG. Really, you can't come back from that. Rachel saw this an hour ago, if not more. And that's why this guy, he's giving some time back now. He's kind of shocked. He's under an hour on the clock. A lot more time than Rachel for now. But if he dwells on this position even longer, he's going to realize that Rachel's definitely gotten through the worst of it. He's leaning back. He's leaning forward. He's got to change his posture just to even get a glimpse of what's happening on the board. I think this guy, he blinked or something, and now he's down in exchange. He might not even notice yet. At some point, he might know. He's like, oh my god, I'm down in exchange. When did that happen? He took that pawn. Bishop a4. And any hopes and dreams he had of an attack on the king side, he didn't take on h3 after d5. The key moment for Rachel. Move of the game so far, by far. And if he goes for the sacrifice now, that ship has sailed, because Rachel's going to hit you with the bishop f4. Discovery. Skewer. And he's not going to like his position. So, huge raid from Dina. Hello and welcome in, everyone. We're watching round 2 of Rachel's Singapore International Open. Thank you for the shout out to Dina. We were covering Dina playing in US Masters 2 days ago, her first round. And she played yesterday through Thanksgiving, as well as today, just now. How did Dina do? Thank you for the positive vibes. That's what I want to know. And here he goes. Sacrifice time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing a piece sacrifice before our very own eyes. Bishop takes on h3. This is a key moment for Rachel. Will she find the follow-up? She looks a little confused. She's like, man, I calculated all this an hour ago. I don't think he can do this. Will she find bishop f4? The counterattack with the discovery, leaving both bishops hanging. Hitting the queen, skewering the rook. This could be a huge moment of the game. This was a mistake by her opponent, going for the aggression, the attack. Dina won both games. What an absolute beast. What a monster. Oh, she adjusted that bishop. We don't have any audio, but You know, some people, they'll call you out on touch Ps. I don't know if she said adjust or jadoob. I don't know if you can say anything else besides those two things. They're in Singapore. So I don't know. I don't know how to say it any other way. You think that's a funny clock, Dirkia? I think it's a normal clock, but you should get one. I think they're fairly cheap, actually. I think they're worth it. I wasn't sure how quickly Rachel would move here, but I do want to show everyone that's joining us how this game started. So maybe we'll take this moment to quickly start from the top. Rachel with the white pieces in round 2. Just a quick reminder, she drew in the first round. Her opponent showed up a little bit late, but returned to play a Caro. And we see a capture of knights. Bishop comes out. Castle, kingside for both sides. And now here, the computer really likes this sacrifice on h3 idea. It's kind of hard to stop as white, but the opponent didn't do that. Brings the queen up to d6, and now here's where they finally double up. And now, key moment, Rachel finds this defense, d5. And if sacrifices, we were going to play d6. So instead of sacrificing, this was the best time for black to do it. Instead, plays captures in the center, allowing for this skewer, winning an exchange. And now Rachel playing rook e1, lining up the rook opposite some very important pieces, but the opponent ignoring that sacrifices on h3 now. And now this is where the evaluation shoots up. It's over +2 for white, but only if Rachel finds the key move, the only move, bishop to f4, a skewer of the rook behind the queen, a discovery, and attacking this bishop, leaving this bishop hanging. Now, the most obvious response right now that Rachel should calculate and dismiss is to take on h3, allowing for the queen to capture. And now the computer wants queen takes d5, but it's reading this at an equal position after knight e6. So what needs to be done for Rachel to get the most out of this position is to pose the question to her opponent, what are you going to do when I attack the queen like this? If queen takes rook, well, we have the knight, right? So that's great for us. Bishop takes, and now we can go ahead and take this bishop on h3. We're doing fantastic here. We're up a queen for a bishop. Okay. So the queen can't take, right? What the computer wants is queen to g4, threatening checkmate. And now we play the move bishop to g3. And now we can see the rook's trade. And now we have knight takes, offering the queen trade. But the simplification is actually just going to benefit Rachel because we're up in exchange still. So, big moment. Bishop takes h3. Bishop f4 is the response here. Now, she could play something else like knight d4, or it's even saying queen to a4, but the best move is bishop f4. Should win her material. Yeah, and the clock, as you can see, it's 57 minutes. Rachel has just over 30 minutes. So a little bit more than half her opponent's time. We saw Rachel get into serious time pressure. She was in a better position and then blundered a perpetual in time pressure. So she's had similar struggles in the past. Thank you, Vu Karma. I appreciate you. We were debating whether or not Rachel could find a move like d5, and she found it. d5, I think, was a tough move. Bishop f4, I think, is definitely very findable because when you line up the rook opposite the queen, you're looking for bishop discoveries, right? And you want to go to the most aggressive place. Obviously, dark square bishop, it's going to attack pieces on dark squares. That's a light square piece, light square piece, light square piece. You're very limited where you're going to go. You don't want to go backwards. You don't want to go here, pointing at some pawns. You want to go f4. Why? Because you're getting on this diagonal. You're attacking this lone bishop. And you also have defensive capabilities to help shield the king. You're not going to go here or here, right? There's no clear follow-up. Bishop f4 is the most precise. And that is going to lead to the biggest advantage. It all comes down to how much she trusts her opponent's calculation. Taking on h3, right? You could just take the bishop, but the computer says that's an even position. This is winning for white with bishop f4. Yeah, if the bishop takes on g3, then we want to take on h3. Tempo on the queen, right? So then black would take on e1. I mean, I don't know what else you could speculate, like discovery, but this is not good. This is not good for black, right? Takes, we take with the knight. Queen takes, but, you know, we take here. Queen takes, we can block with the knight, and lo and behold, we're up a rook for a bunch of pawns. It's true, but definitely this is going to be a good position for white if you can trade off the queens. The king is very safe, actually, with the knight covering all of the checks. So it's not easy, but once the rook gets into the game, it's going to definitely show its prowess on the board. Not an easy position for sure, but a big moment for Rachel to find another killer move here. You think she'll find bishop f4? I also think so. It's got to be calculated. She sees it. She just has to correctly calculate. She's looking at it right now. Yeah, she's got the leg shakes. She's leaning forward. Okay, she takes. She simply takes. Which it's not necessarily bad. It's just an opportunity lost. Stronger was bishop f4. She would have put her opponent in a really big pickle. And the opponent simply recaptures, bringing the queen in. The computer wants bishop f or queen takes d5. Bishop f4 now is not nearly as good. If we look at it now, takes, it's just a free piece. Okay. That's the computer is saying that's the second best move. So bishop d4. I mean, I don't know what's going on really. Rook e4. What's going on? Takes. Yeah. This is kind of not good, right? I don't know. This is more exciting than anything Dean Gukesh. I was saying this is one of the most viewed games in all of Singapore. So, yeah, big moment here. Is she going to take on d5? This is kind of a scary move. Not going to lie. But the good news is the queen's hard to hit on d5, right? Typically, there'd be like a second rook. Or there'd be like some sort of pawn or something, or a bishop. But really, after queen takes, the rook could come here. But then our queen gets very comfortable. I mean, maybe even taking this pawn. Maybe. But this knight is doing a really good job of guarding the h2 square. So that's just something you have to be a little bit concerned about. You also have to be concerned about the rook lift, right? Okay, and she's done it. She's taken that pawn. That's taken some material off the board. And now the computer wants the move knight to e6, getting that knight involved into the game. Yeah, taking that pawn is really important because otherwise the rook was going to come to e4. So now that rook no longer has the lift option. And really, she needs a way to get the queens off or protect the king a little bit more, right? It's not that easy. It all really depends on how she's able to get the queen around. Because right now the knight's kind of blocking it, but the knight also can't really move, right? So I'm wondering if she can offer some sort of rook trade. Like if the bishop can try to get out of the way. But yeah, I'm really curious. Like, this is not an obvious move for black, right? It looks like black has a lot of options, like including there's a check. The check's probably not going to be that useful. But like, why specifically go to e6? Like, what if you go to g6? Now the computer's, wow, this bishop f4. Okay, because the rook is hanging. So that's why you need the knight to go here to block the file. The computer wants to keep grabbing pawns. Classic. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's possible the opponent's gonna like try to defend this pawn. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to just grab this, honestly. You are attacking the bishop. That is a very important consideration. Because if you could remove the bishop, then the knight doesn't need to defend the h2 square. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Joe, if you take the bishop, then you're going to lose your knight. Yes, that's part of the plan, actually, because now our queen can come back and defend ourselves. So that would be a great trade. If you could take both of these minor pieces off the board, that would greatly benefit white. because this bishop is the one of two attackers on our king. And I would love to trade off queens, but our knight's kind of in the way, right? And the queen is very limited to where it can go because it's defending the knight. So if we could teleport the queen here, or we could magically trade off these minor pieces, then our queen could come here, or even trade off and come here. And maybe we could trade off all four of these pieces. So essentially what Rachel has done is given herself a position where she is up material, and now she needs to dodge the opponent's attack, simplify, trade off, and go into a one endgame. So that's the game plan. Black says this is a draw, triple zeros with 96. Whether or not our opponent is going to play that, I have my own serious doubts. It's possible, but I think unlikely given how many options there really are for black. So I think taking on b7 with the threat of taking the bishop makes a lot of sense. 96 also kind of defends the bishop a little bit, so there is at least that. But yeah, if we move our bishop, then that's going to pin their knight. So I think that's also helpful. Take care, rookie. Sleep well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping out. Yeah, I think chess is definitely harder. I think like running is difficult, of course, but I think running can also just be way more casual because chess is straight up a competition. It's a battle between two people that's being waged here. Obviously, running could be a competition or competitive, right? You're racing against other people, but it's not inherently like I think chess you can also there's so much strategy and like you're really missing things and like missing tactics, moves, etc. Whereas running, it's like I'm sure you could talk to some marathon runner all about the strategy and how difficult it can get. But I think Rachel, being like a 1700 FIDE player competing in a tournament, is just inherently more competitive than. I mean, I don't want to discredit her marathon run. We could ask her afterwards. Maybe she is an extremely competitive runner, but this is the first time I've heard about her doing these sort of runs. So, who knows? But yeah, I mean, also like I've personally run a half marathon, and I'm not a runner really. I did some running in high school, and like I know how to run, right? But chess is it's just so complex. Like if you have a chess coach, that helps out a lot, right? If you have a running coach, it's like, okay, just run faster. Dude, I'm so insulting the running community right now. No, I don't want to like simplify running, but it's two very different things to compare. I don't even remember what the comment was in the chat that made me even get on this tangent. Have a good night, Adam Red Sox. What's up, 212? Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Knight g6, it likes bishop f4 again. It wants the bishop discovery on the rook, leaving the rook hanging. So that's fun. We could look at it a little deeper. Bishop to f4, and say rook takes, knight takes. We just have rook e1 mate. If you take with the bishop, you have rook e8 mate, rook sacrifice, queen comes in with mate. So your bishop is immune by both pieces, even after the rook has been traded off. So that would be really nice. She didn't play bishop f4 earlier, so it's possible she would miss it again. But it is still opponent's turn. They haven't developed their knight yet. Rachel giving us a glance in the camera, saying, "You guys seeing this? I'm up 3 points of material. And I'm not that much down on time either, which is huge." Joe Bruin International Open. We could try, Brody. But yeah, in the meantime, shout out to FIDE Master John Curtis. Huge raid. Hello and welcome in, everyone. Really appreciate that. I hope you're doing well, John. This is a tournament happening in Singapore right now. You might have heard of some big ones, but this might be the biggest happening in Singapore at this very moment. We've got a match here between Rachel and her opponent in round 2 of the Singapore International Open. Rachel started off the tournament with a draw and is now looking for her first win with the white pieces. We had a Caro Kann, and our opponent just sacrificed on h3. Rachel is up 3 points of material, a pawn and an exchange. But apparently the computer says black can hold a draw, or equality at least, with the move knight to e6. Not an easy move to find out of how many options there are here for black. Thank you, Indomitable, for the follow. Welcome in. Was it a good draw or a bad draw? Rachel was winning, but she got down on time and blundered a perpetual. So I guess in that perspective, it was a bad draw. Hello, Thinker Teacher. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's look again at this. You said queen to g4. I thought bishop g3 is something that we looked at in that same bishop f4 line. And still, like bishop takes, we have rook takes, right? So rook takes, further simplifying, further giving us additional access to the back rank is really good stuff. So the bishop has to keep a close eye over d8, right, as we saw. Even though the rook check isn't mate, it leads to mate because of the queen now. So bishop f4 still works. Rachel didn't play it earlier, though, at this moment, which is where we wanted it. But instead, she took on h3. So this was the moves played. Queen takes d5. And here we're just anticipating black's move. So he's got like, what, 45 minutes to her 30 minutes? Match of the century right here, Borat Chess. That's correct. All right, I've got an almond redeem and a Gandalf. So stay tuned for that. Good to see you. V. Prahara, hope you're doing well. Let's see if I know how to wear a hat. There we have it. Farzi's doing well. Very nice. What's up, Alex? Another almond. What Harry Potter house am I in? I don't know. Unfortunately, this isn't a sorting hat. Although it could be mistaken for one. I could see why. Bishop says that I'm a Hufflepuff. Nice, Borat. I didn't think it was one, Bishop. I think the only house that you don't really want to be in is Slytherin, right? But even still, some people actually want to be a Slytherin. Looks like you missed something, Nova. Well, welcome back. Not much has changed in terms of my appearances, right? As I have always been wearing this wizard hat from the get-go. All right, Rachel has gotten up. Oh, she paused, but she wanders a little bit away. Getting the blood flowing, moving those legs, waiting for the opponent. He's got his hands clasped, resting his chin a little bit. Trying to figure out if he's got anything here. Man, I just sacrificed a whole piece for this attack. My opponent just grabbed a pawn in the center with their queen. The disrespect. Is she going to grab another pawn? I think that's on the menu. She took one pawn. What's going to stop her from taking another pawn? In fact, that is the top continuation. 96, queen takes b7. It put you in Hagrid's hut. I didn't know that was one of the houses. Hair. Which chicken is a Ravenclaw? You're going to fly me out, Borat? Okay. I'll believe it when I see it. Rachel returned from her brief vacation from the chair, awaiting her opponent's next move. This is a good time when you're waiting for your opponent. You can't just be purely waiting. You have to use that time to really calculate, how do I get out of this attack, right? Like, bishop f4 is another move that you're kind of anticipating, right? Like, if the opponent does something like h6, like, of course you could calculate taking on b7, which is really strong, but the computer still says best move here is bishop f4 because you're simply offering the, like, this is not actually, this, I would say this is a harder move to find because the opponent can trade here, take back, and now takes here. We play rook e8. We're threatening to take and play here, which would be checkmate, which is nice. But you've just given up a piece. So you have to be really confident that you would be converting something here, which you are. Like, if you find this, there's like really no defense. You could play a move g5. This is actually very curious now. You wouldn't take now because it's not mate. So what is the idea here? Computer says you follow up with c6. Really not easy, right? Okay, queen takes b7, and maybe you're threatening this, but now there's king g7. So this is like not easy at all. Computer saying you could play rook e7 now. Man, Rook e7, what is it? Queen here. Queen h5. And then what? Just queen back to d5, and I guess you're trying to push the pawn home or something. Yeah, it's really it's not simple. It's not simple stuff. Bishop f4, like, the computer says it's the best move, but it's not easy. Wow. Opponent absolutely lashes out. G5 was one of these moves in our calculation in that line, but not at this point. So here, the computer just wants Rachel to continue through. It's even saying knight takes G5, actually. Wow. That is not at all a calculation that I was looking at. So knight takes G5. And what exactly is the idea after F takes? Oh, queen takes. I was going to say bishop takes looks pretty bad, because then we're going to get checked to smithereens. So let's calculate that. Like, after here, what does it want? Oh, there's only one good move, and it's queen g2. Honestly, that kind of makes sense, knowing that we wanted the queen back here, right? But the computer does like queen takes b7, and the idea is we still want to just take this bishop, right? And here we still have the queen back to g3. That's actually with a check. So I think queen takes b7 makes a lot of sense, and the computer's reading that at +2. I don't suspect she would go, like, you can give the piece back for these two pawns and bring the queen to g2. And if you assess that position, you are up one pawn. Is that enough? Oh, wait, you're still up in it. Wait. Give the knight, you're up in the exchange still. So they would keep the queen on the board. Something like this. So the pawns are even. You're just up in exchange. Yeah, I'm not sure if Rachel would do something like this. But you use something like, yeah, bishop d4. Offer the rook trade. Rook d8, maybe rook d1. And it's still kind of a game, but still good for white, right? So yeah, interesting here from black. What else? Computer doesn't like this because you have, I think, perpetual. So yeah, there was no perpetual here because the king could run out, I think, to e2. So that's interesting. So the bishop move is actually good to know. You can't really move the bishop. So yeah, g5. And I'm kind of expecting queen takes b7. Bishop takes doesn't work because queen g4, and we have that same perpetual. The bishop can't move because the rook opens up to cover e2. Thank you for following, Roberto. G4 looks pretty scary. G4 typically is not a great move because it really weakens the king. So the computer's saying we can give back the piece material and still be up in exchange. But also you could just take on b7 and threaten the bishop, right? You can take with a little tempo, if you will. And the computer likes knight e6, but it wants to actually check us to e2 first, and then play knight e6. Because knight e6 defends the bishop, and just adds the knight to the attack. So we could see a king run in the center of the board. That would be very interesting. But yes, the opponent has played. I think he's got like 40 minutes. Rachel spent about 5 minutes on this last move. She's at 25 minutes. So she's about 15 minutes down. She's definitely better, but it's not easy yet. The opponent is bringing the attack still. I think threatening to play g4. Now, if you take on b7, you're threatening the bishop. So there's really no time to play g4. Then maybe you help the opponent find a good move like knight e6, but you're still doing very well here. Queen takes, knight e6, and now the computer still wants to sacrifice, actually, just to play queen to g2. So it kind of goes to show like how important the king safety is. If you bring the queen back to like e4, computer says this is now a draw with the move h6. How wild, really. Like, I just don't even understand, really. f5, queen to c6. Pressure on the rook, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird stuff. Wow. So maybe sacrificing the knight to bring the queen back to g2 is important. What's up, Smoothly? Oh, thank you. Sorry. Didn't realize that. What's up, Poker Bras? Good to see you. Yeah, we were just debating. I think people were saying I'm a Hufflepuff. But the hat didn't sort me, unfortunately. Or fortunately. That'd be wild screws if Ding came to watch them play. Mega, thank you for the 62 months. Absolutely wild. Hope you sleep well. Thanks for stopping by. Gryffindor, top tier goodness. Okay. Appreciate that. Poker Bras. I don't know. I don't know what the other people were telling me. But either way, it's okay. All right, yeah, g5 on the board. Man's not letting up with the attack. Bring in some heat. Rachel is up. In exchange. No, what is she? What? She's up a rook for 2 pawns. Okay. Well, she can give back the knight for 2 pawns. She can also just grab a pawn. We'll see how good Rachel's defense is. So I'm curious, like if you take here, knight goes here. And then you play something like rook a d1. What's the follow-up? Rook b8. Okay, that checks out, right? queen, let's say like here. It wants rook b4. Golly. Annoying is what that is. So, let's see. It wants rook d4 or bishop d4. Queen g4. Wow. Queen h3. And if we go here, oof, that hurts. And if here, wait. Rook b8, queen here. f5, kind of annoying. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I want c6. What if we go here? Rook d8. What? Queen g4. Oh, they still got this. Yeah, you can't. So queen on d5 is going to be kind of a landmine move. Because you get this knight f4 check after queen here, queen here. You either perpetual or you step here. So that's why I like queen c6. If we go queen c6 now, though, it really likes rook b4, bro. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. We can be up a rook, and it doesn't matter if the opponent can checkmate us. But that's with perfect play, which we haven't seen from our opponent so far. We've been seeing some really good play from Rachel. She did miss bishop f4 tactic. Earlier, she did trade and allow the queen in to h3, but she took the material, which would be good as long as she can convert it. But she needs to protect the king, right? So after the move g5, the computer really wants to give back the material. Sacrifice. You do get 2 pawns for the knight, but more importantly, you get the queen to g2, and your king lives to tell another tale. Gary loves pizza. We love that. Thank you, Gary, for the sub. Welcome in. Humans are not computers. It is true, as far as I'm aware, but maybe there's some computer human out there that can prove me wrong. But until then, we have to see how these two humans progress the game. And our opponent has just played the move g5, full sending, attacking, bringing some heat. Rachel on the clock, under 20 minutes. Gonna have to figure out how to defend this attack. She's up the material, but she's down to time. Can she get out of this one? I think she can. She could take on b7, but can she find the sack back on g5? She'd still be up in exchange, but the game is far from over, which for her would be a good thing, right? Because you have that long-term advantage being up material. Do I know how to solve a Rubik's Cube? No, I don't. That's the point. Good to see you, Gary. Okay, Rachel has to find a move. What's she gonna play here? Sack the knight, take the pawn. She brings in her other rook, rook a d1. This is the third top choice compared to sacking the knight was first, taking on b7 was second. She's bringing in all of her pieces here. g4, if this gets played, there's this move queen f5, apparently. Not easy because, like, your knight's dropping, right? Like, yes, that pins the pawn, so there's no capture here, but there is a capture here. But the computer is just saying, give up the knight, trade queens, and, well, you're chilling now. and this pawn structure sucks. So yeah, interesting, interesting. Also, I'm assuming yeah, bishop h6 has got to be just a brilliant, brilliant move. So knight e6, then yeah. And then just like rook e3, say goodbye to your pawn. Okay. Yeah. I wonder though, like, can you move the knight anywhere? The computer says you can go to knight g5. What about knight? Oh, it says yeah, knight e. If you go to d4, it's just a perpetual on the spot. Or it even says rook e4 actually is kind of funny. Right? Like that's kind of comical. Because they just still have a perpetual. It's saying you could play knight f5, and it's still perpetual. And this is their last chance to play perpetual. I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. This is weird stuff, but okay. Sorry. Let me live in my fairy tale for just a moment and see what happens. Okay, so yeah, opponent did continue with the G pawn, which only makes utmost of sense. Rook ad1, and then just simply g4. Let's see what Rachel has come up with here, because none of the moves are very pretty or human-like. It just wants queen f5. It's saying queen f5, and it's over +3 for white. If Rachel can find this, then all will be well in the world. She gives the knight. I mean, here's what I'm questioning though. If you play rook ad1, like after the move g5 has just been played, of course g4 is top of the list for expected moves to be played. So I'm very curious what Rachel has come up with here, because if she plays queen f5 and you're okay with losing the knight, you're okay with this, then why not in this position just take the pawn with the knight, right? Because after this, you get another pawn, and then just queen g2. I'm not sure. Maybe this is better though in her calculation, because after the rook comes in, g5, g4, queen f5, you're actually forcing the queen trade off. Because in the other line, you get queen g2, but then the queen leaves and goes on to do its thing later on. But here, if you can force the queens off, then that's good. And maybe you don't win these two pawns, but you have the rook involved, and those pawns are actually just horrible. Triple isolated. Meanwhile, Rachel's back with another cup. So she's staying hydrated. Is Rachel left-handed? She's writing the moves with the left hand. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before. Shout out to all the left-handed people in the chat. There's probably not that many of you. I'm definitely not one of them. But she has returned. She's got 15 minutes on the clock. I mean, I'm hoping for a quick queen f5 here, because surely she's anticipated g4. Shout out to Hair, one of the best mods in the biz. Camera cannot be flipped because I can see the clock times. Unless the clock itself is flipped. Boom! Queen f5 on the board. Just when I was doubting Rachel, she delivers. And she delivers big time. Again, top choice. Takes a cool sip. And she's got plenty of time to convert this endgame. There is 30-second increment. Rachel had this in the bag from the get-go. Why even doubt her? Never doubt her. That's right. She found Queen f5 and missed Bishop f4. Queen f5, I mean, it's not a good piece to move, right? Like, when you see g4, or when you see g5, you see g4. And you don't play rook a d1 unless you know what you're doing after g4. That's why she didn't spend as much time on this move. The time that she spent on rook a d1 was the time that she found queen f5. Because you're not playing rook a d1 unless you find queen f5. And you're simply pinning the pawn. So there's no threat on the knight. And she's aware that she's losing a piece. But she's assessed that position. And she clearly understands that she's up in exchange. And she's going to pick off those pawns, no problem. So I'm really liking rook a d1, actually. An opponent missed the knight e6 idea earlier and invested their last two moves in pushing the g-pawn, but they've hit a roadblock here. Rachel has found the pin, and, well, what's going on here? If you don't take... I'm wondering, like, rook up is a huge threat. So, like, knight e6 might be important, right? Like, they don't have to trade pieces. But let's see. Bishop d4 it likes. And we're going after this pawn, I guess. Yeah, queen takes would be brutal. Yeah, computer saying bishop d4 is a brilliant C prize. Like, okay, knight here. We have mate in 2. Yeah, I mean, the rook's pinned again. The knight's pinned. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're not taking on f3, honestly, I don't think taking on f3 is, like, really sad because you're winning a piece, but you're losing the game. It might as well be a resignation. But the sad thing about it is that you don't really have anything better. So, okay, like, computer's saying rook e6. We still play bishop d4. I don't know. Any bonus time? They get 30 seconds every move. Increment. Will I be commentating on the half marathon? I don't think so, man. I asked if she would have her stream set up, but I don't think she wants to. What's up, Nate? How you doing? Chaos, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I'm doing well, Nate. I'm stocked up on Thanksgiving turkey and leftovers. So, exciting times. Don't have to worry about what to eat. What a treat. And yeah, just enjoying Rachel putting some finishing touches on the board here in Singapore. She's just followed up with a fantastic queen f5 defensive maneuver, giving back a piece to trade the queens off the board. And this guy, I think, trying to improvise on the fly. Not a great spot to be in when you're down material. Captain Obelisk, thanks for the follow. So this guy's attack has been thwarted, but the game continues for a couple more moves here, depending. If he trades queens, it's going to be over. Chances of a comeback are slim. But again, when he's improvising, he's going to come up with something here. Probably getting the rook up or the knight up. Or maybe like I'm also thinking maybe the H pawn could join in on the fun or something. I don't know. Queen literally has no moves besides taking, so that's interesting. That being said, I don't really know if there's a point behind h5 other than defending the pawn, which isn't necessary because it's not like the queen's going anywhere anytime soon anyways. So that being said, yeah, I like the bishop move somewhere. Like she's gonna try to trade rooks, but now I think Queen f5 is really the key move. Earlier in the game, we gave d5 move of the game, and when I say we, I mean me. I gave that to her. d5 was move of the game at the time. Now, I mean, you could argue even rook ad1, because if you play rook ad1, that means you know queen f5 is there. So, honestly, Rachel's found a lot of key moves in this game. d5, I think, being the first of many. Queen f5, she found before she even played it. But now that she has played it, that's really, I think, her biggest defensive resource yet. Pinning the pawn and getting the queen kind of locked out, right? So, queen, one of the most powerful pieces on the board. It's just been neutralized by Rachel's queen. And yeah, she's losing a piece if the opponent even takes, but it's at the cost of a queen trade, which Rachel's up enough material where she can afford to give up a whole piece and just be crushing. So, yeah, great stuff here. She's up 3 points of material, right? It's a rook for 2 pawns. So if she loses the piece, she's not going to have the material advantage anymore. It's going to technically be even, but the pawns are going to be so bad. They're going to be sitting ducks. They're going to be picked off like flies one by one. Rachel's going to offer a rook trade. Bishop's going to come into h6, taking away the flight square from the king. The rooks are going to be way too powerful in this endgame. And the pawns are going to be way too weak. King's going to be weak. This is going to be easy work here for Rachel. So that's why the queen trade, unlikely. But this guy just spent all these pawn pushes investing in this attack. Rachel's just completely neutralized it with one move, queen f5. And in the meantime, she's also invested in centralizing her rooks. And soon enough, we're going to see a bishop move, offering a trade, perhaps even getting in on the attack against her opponent's king. And this is going to be the first of hopefully many wins of her tournament. So overall, great game here from Rachel. She's just going to have to wait a little bit longer and see how her opponent decides to go out. If he has a last hurrah here, stirring up something. But it's hard to find. When you lose material, you're losing resources to attack. And the opponent sacrificed a piece. Rachel had a bishop f4 discovery tactic that she didn't go for, but the attack didn't work out in the end because there's just not enough material to get any damage done. There's a really good bishop. There's a really annoying queen. There's now a pawn, but everything here is holding it down for the white king. So Rachel's got this in the bag. You will probably shake hands the next three moves. I doubt that. There's still plenty of time left on the clock, and kind of. I think there's like knight moves, rook moves. He doesn't have to trade. Yeah, he could push the pawn as well. Bishop h6 would be really annoying. Bishop d4 is on the books. Um, and there's always chances where she could blunder, right? Um, like, yeah, she's not going to move the knight or like hang her queen, or he won't hang his, but if some reason there's some tension lost, like black could be very close to checkmating the opponent, Rachel. Um, but yeah, she has this very much under control. She should be very fine here. There are definitely some moves left to be played, though. Rook e5, I think now doesn't work because the bishop's blocked, right? So now we can just take. And if bishop takes, now we have bishop f4. And you're blocking out the that really important attacker. So the idea that bouncing is offering is knight to g6 to get to h4, but now we offer this rook trade. So king is a little exposed. We go bishop to d4. If you try to trade rooks, well, now this is going to be really bad. Queen's going to come in here, which is going to be really bad. Knight here. The point being, if knight takes, now we have that perpetual that we just blundered. But, of course, we can give a check, which is going to be really deadly, because after king steps up, queen takes his checkmate. But let's say that black doesn't trade rooks and just goes like, I don't know. Let's just go here for the time being. Queen takes f6. That looks pretty darn good to me. Takes, of course, blunders mate in 1. But maybe there's like rook takes. But again, you've got some back rank issues, right? Here, knight f8. Apparently, you've got mate in 2 here, which is really nice. But even still, like you could probably just take this rook, right? And you're still, like, assuming Rachel doesn't find mate in 2, which is kind of a bad assumption, because Rachel's a pretty good player, right? So, yeah. I don't know, guys. Do I need to keep going? Bishop d5 or d4 is just going to be such a good move. Pretty much, like, yeah. If black doesn't take, computer's not saying rook e5 is a move, but like rook e6 is a move, but still bishop d4. And that's part of the weakness of when you push the g-pawn, right? That's why in this sort of position, like, I'm not actually kind of looking at g5 as a threat, just because, like, it's so weakening of the dark squares, and you have a dark square bishop on the board still. So after this move, like, you would love to play something like this immediately, but we were talking about the bishop being pinned because the king really needs the e2 square, because we're going to get perpetualed, right? So you got to be really cautious here about those kind of blunders. But Rachel did a good job calculating after g4, queen f5, and now with the pawn on g4, that blocks the queen's check, right? That takes away the g4 square. So now there's not even any perpetual threats unless the knight moves. Knight needs to guard this, right? That's why Rachel didn't move the knight. She would rather lose the knight just to trade the queens than to save the knight's material but blunder the h2 square with the queen or the bishop. But now that there's no check, now the bishop is free, and when the bishop moves, it does a lot of things for us, a lot of good things. It opens the e file, which threatens the rook. It offers trades. It weakens, black's back rank, but also the bishop itself becomes a beast on the main diagonal of the board, which has rightfully been opened up thanks to the absence of the g-pawn, going on its own little crusade, but at the cost of its king's safety, as well as the queen's mobility, actually. So this attack with the g-pawn really backfired by the opponent, both weakening the king and minimizing the queen's longevity, because now it's just trapped. The queen actually has no safe squares to move besides trading itself off. And that's why this guy has given all of his time back. Any advantage that he had has basically been consumed because he's struggling to find anything, because there isn't anything besides taking the material. But yeah, the computer is saying rook e6, knight e6. But again, knight e6, like just bishop d4, and the knight's pinned, right? So, any knight move and the rook falls. So if you move the rook, then, I mean, you could just take bishop take. I was thinking queen takes, but it's actually not good. This is one way you could lose the game. Rook takes. So we were threatening mate on h8, but now rook takes. If we do rook takes here, g takes because the queen's no longer pinning that pawn. And this is actually kind of, this knight becomes a beast covering a lot of important squares. And we're going to get mated here, so that's not good. Okay. So you wouldn't take with the queen, though. You could actually do rook takes. And if rook takes, then we have this back rank mate. But the computer's actually saying rook takes d4 is even better. So we're attacking this. Anywho, yeah, this knight is such an important piece. And the queen is on f5 as well. So everything's working really well together here. And that's why Rachel brought the second rook in, because every piece is playing. We just lost the camera. Uh-oh. Did I miss any moves, by the way? Did the opponent play anything after queen f5? Camera's back. Oh, she just... No, we're still waiting on a move. Now he's under 20 minutes. 19 minutes to 15 minutes. We get a little bit of lag, but that's okay. We've got the live position updated. We can just be rest assured that she's going to win this, regardless of whether or not we see it actually happen. Of course, it'd be nice. I'm assuming she's got some technical difficulties. The camera's trying. I could see the quality is focusing, right? It was a little blurry. It's coming in, coming out, but it's a good time, I think, to be having the technical difficulties, because I think the stress, the pressure of the position is beyond us. I think Rachel's solved the position, basically, right? She's figured it out. She's gotten to a point where the attack has been stopped, and now It's just how she wants to finish her attack, right? How she wants to finish off her opponent. She's gotten through the difficult stages. She found d5 when she needed it. She found queen f5 when she needed it. These are going to be the hardest moves to find in this game. She's found them. So now, I mean, the opponent really doesn't have like moves, right? That's why he's taking so. He's going to be less time than her in 2 minutes, I think. Okay. He's found a move. Knight g6 on the board. So he did not take the knight, trying to prolong the game as much as possible. But now Rachel has a moment to develop her bishop and open up the e-file. So I would love to see bishop d4. And the computer agrees. That's a +5 move. Best move. Computer's even saying you could play bishop to h6 if you really wanted to. But you don't need to. Bishop h6 is still +2.5. Or are we hanging from the ceiling? So that we can see the pieces a little bit better. We want this top aerial view. All right, Rachel, she's putting the hair back up. She's on the clock. Quesos, thanks for the, is that what, Casios? I probably would pronounce that Casios, but I'm assuming it's quesos. Hera means business. She's got the blinders on. She's locking in, guys. It's her turn. She's back on the clock. 18 minutes to 13 minutes. She's got a 5-minute disadvantage, but she's got a +5 advantage to work with if she plays bishop d4. Hopefully she had been thinking about it. Bishop d4, one of those beautiful moves, offering the rooks, trying to get the back rank, also trying to get to that f6 square. Give me those dark squares. What's up, Paladin? Been tuning in, watching, supporting. Rachel, hair up, hands up, eyes down. This guy, meanwhile, he's trying to hide himself, like ashamed of his position. I'm surprised he's even at the board right now. Of course, though, he did play knight g6, trying to get in knight h4. He's not giving up. He understands he's in a tough spot, but he has hope. He's not giving up. Rachel's got to put this guy away. And a move bishop d4 would do it the quickest. She doesn't have to do that. Rook d4, also a strong move. That's what I liked about knight e6, is that it took away the d4 square. That's an option now. We can go after this g-pawn, right? So let's see. Rook d4, I think, would really force the issue of the queen trade, which would be in our favor, making our king a lot safer on the board. What's up, Gilby? This was a 9 a.m. round for Singapore, which is 7 p.m. for me. Yeah, Philemon, we gotta look at all the things on screen available to us. Maybe the opponent watched last stream, knowing his opponent, a big famous streamer, checked out the VOD and saw that she got into time pressure. Of course, he spent like 20 minutes on his last move. because I don't think he was expecting queen f5. I think Rachel really shocked him with such a high quality move. And so that's why he spent so much time to come up with knight to g6. But of course, now Rachel can try her best and start an attack of her own. I'm hoping that she uses the d4 square, either putting the bishop there or the rook there. I think both are great moves. Yeah, she stops the knight by offering the rook trades. Or like rook d4, for example, would be a great move. If the knight moves, then the rook takes with a huge check. And we're not just like winning the knight. Our rook is pinned, right? So if the king moves, we're not trying to take the knight. Queen takes f6 is checkmate, by the way, apparently. King here, this looks just as bad. Bishop a6 is also mate. So really the knight would have to just come straight home. And we actually just don't care because we take with a check, with a discovery, we win their queen, actually. So rook d4 just threatens to win the queen. So that really keeps the knight at bay. That's why here I was expecting maybe a move h5 makes some sense. And the computer just wants bishop f4 here. That's pretty interesting. We're offering the rook trade. And here we're able to take back with a knight because now the bishop has been cut off. This is a very interesting move. We're using the rook to help defend here. So let's say rook takes, knight takes. And now if they take on f4, let's say with a knight, then we just take. And if they take, we take. And lo and behold, our position, we're up a piece. And funnily enough, the queen's still kind of trapped here. So queen can't come out here because of the knight, or here because of the knight. The queen can go here and defend that, but the queen's still trapped, right? So that's kind of funny. And then here it actually likes knight f3, taking advantage of the pen. Queen has to come back to h3, and I mean, I wonder if we can just. Oh yeah, we don't allow. We could go back to f3 or f. No, it doesn't actually like this for us. I was wondering how bad the pawns are. It says this is better for black, even if we can get this pawn here, or something. I don't know. Anyways, obviously you don't have to get the piece back, but yeah, I don't really think she needs to resort to this bishop f5 idea. Let's see. Let's go back a move. We're here. Knight to g6 has been played. So now she's still on the clock. She's getting down on time. Less than 10 minutes. Bishop d4 is definitely the move. We were looking at rook d4. Rook d4 and the idea is to take on g4. Black can then play pawn to h5. And that's where it wanted this bishop f4 idea again, but it's just so unnecessary. What is concern here? If we go to d4 and we're looking at this, right? Okay, computer still likes this queen takes f6 idea, but bishop takes is still good. There were lines where this was really bad because rook takes, but we have rook e8, right? So yeah, that's just mate in 3. 1, 2, 3. So good stuff there. But if you take back, still very good, right? You're threatening the same mate still. And okay, if like something like this, we can just trade. I don't know. This isn't good, right? Like I was looking at this looked to me the most active, but even still, just taking like this is just fantastic as well. Queen takes, or sorry, queen check. Let's see. What could man be going for? Or it's her turn. She's got to move, right? She's in this position. We want bishop d4. We want to get the rooks to the back rank, really. What? She's got like 5 minutes. She's really gonna put herself in the thick of it for the time pressure. Rachel's giving us the drama here, the dramatic finish. Because if she doesn't find bishop d4, rook d4, then honestly, like, I don't know. Can she go back? Computer says rook f8 and it's a draw. Okay, we don't have to worry too much anymore. Bishop d4 on the board. Best move. +5. Lights are going to be out soon. This guy, he spent 20 minutes on his last move to find knight g6. But what was his response to bishop d4? I suspect he doesn't have one. He might put something on e5. But it's not going to be good for him. So let's say knight here. We can finally take with a knight because now the bishop's blocked, right? And yeah, if takes, like, I'm sure computer likes queen check. What if we just take, we could just trade everything off, right? Yeah, rook takes, wait. Yeah, if rook takes, we can give this rook check. Queen takes is even better. Threatening rook checkmate. And yeah, I mean, we're just up a rook. So if they block with a bishop, we still take with a knight. If they take like this, then queen takes f6 works. It's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. But we have the just absolutely dominant queen takes f3. Rook takes. We don't care if you take our queen. You're going to get mated. That would be kind of a gnarly way to end the game. Wow. So then, yeah, here, f takes. Probably we could still just do bishop takes. Computer even says rook takes is fine as well. Yeah. Bishop d5 or bishop d4, everything just kind of works out for us tactically. So Rachel found this. She slow rolled it for dramatic effect, but it is very difficult to mess this up. There was one line we were looking at. There was one line. How did we find the bad line? I don't even remember how we did it. There's a line where like rook takes was really good. Will you please tell Rachel how proud of her we are? Of course. What's up, Chameleon? Hello, David. Good to see you. All right, for anyone that's tuning in a little late, you want to see how awesome of a game Rachel's played from the start. We can go through it real quick. I suspect our opponent won't find a move for a while. Rachel started off yesterday with a draw. Now she gets the white pieces, looking for her first win. Opponent actually showed up a few minutes late, but he arrived and played c6, a Caro Kann. Rachel bringing out her knights. Okay, opponent has traded rooks. This is not good for him and good for us. So that makes things a lot simpler. She's threatening some real nasty back rank stuff now. So I'm going to go through these moves pretty quick. Both sides castle king side. Opponent brings out both bishops, brings the queen in. Rachel kicks the queen back and now finds the very important, very timely, very classy d5, threatening d6. The capture allows the skewer now. Rachel picks up the exchange. Rook opposite the queen. Sacrifice on the board. Rachel picks up a center pawn, making sure to keep an eye on the knight. And this is where the opponent extends the kingside pawns for an attack with the g-pawn. But Rachel calls the bluff. After g4, plays queen f5, pinning the pawn to the queen, otherwise forcing a queen trade, which the opponent cannot allow because the queen is the only thing that's really attacking other than this bishop. But with the knight here, h2 is covered and there's really no attack. So opponent tries to continue, knight to g6, and another huge move from Rachel. Bishop d4, opening up the e-file. Opponent trades rooks. This is not going to end very well for him. She's simply taking back, and now the rook is going to come in to the back rank. This move is very hard to stop, other than moving the king here. But f6 is going to fall, and so too will the king. Also, there's like this check to keep in mind. But yeah, this man, both players putting the hands up, shielding their eyes from any distractions, trying to focus in on the board. But it's not going to help Rachel's opponent. The position is too far gone, and she's playing too well. Yeah, very solid player. The game is still going. It is true. The game is not over yet. It's about 12 minutes to 5 minutes on the clock. Rachel's down a few, but she's up more than enough to win this game. And there is 30-second increment. Can you play rook e8 check to deflect? I'm not sure what we were analyzing. You want to like the rook move? Oh, because you didn't want the rook to sack itself. So you're saying if this, queen takes. Computer says it's a draw after queen h6. So the knight does a good job here. And if we go like knight here, now we're getting mated actually. So that's not great. So it's a little bit much. It's a little bit much, unfortunately. Too much. Because of queen h6. Now, let's say we did something random. Oh, by the way, knight f4 would be winning here for the opponent. So doing something random is probably not good. But now we do this, and now they do something random back. Rook check, rook takes, queen takes. Now there's no queen h6, right? So it wants bishop e5, knight takes. It wants queen to b3, but it is very good for white still. But yeah, the rook sack is a bit much. It's a bit unnecessary. But yes, they've traded rooks, and we're looking at that. Doesn't quite work. Opponent hasn't moved yet, but probably regretting the rook trade because now we can play rook e8 without sacrificing it. Um, so, yeah, Gilby, I am commentating for 5 days out of 6. Only day I'm taking off out of the 6 was yesterday for Thanksgiving. So, we started off with Dina. We've got Rachel with the Singapore International Open. Saturday and Sunday, expect to have me back for Creator Cup with Phoebe. Opponent finally trading queens here. What's funny is doesn't even have to trade queens right away. She can go rook check, which is a little bit stronger actually, and only then trading. So, yeah. Because of all the turkey I ate, I didn't actually have any turkey today, but maybe after this tournament, after this game, I'll go get some food. When you get older, you want to be as good as Rachel. Yeah, Rachel's a good player. So the king either steps up and you walk into bishop takes, which is actually checkmate, or you block. And yeah, this is going to be lights out, let me tell you. Knight block, trade, bishop takes f6 with bishop e7 following. So yeah, knight back has been played. She should simply trade queens here, finally getting the queens off the board. And then computer really likes c6 to play bishop c5 and also to take on b7. Yeah, she's trading queens. Opponent takes back. And now I think just taking on f6 is just got to be really clean. That's exactly what she's done. Computer said c6 a little bit better, but I think bishop takes f6 is really clean. You're taking away g7, you're threatening e7. There's no bishop move that could stop that. And now you can see she reaches back, stretching, puts her hands up in the air in a victorious celebration. I mean, it's been a long game. Nicola, thank you for the sub. 64 months, big one, and 1,000 bits. Seriously, really appreciate that. Screws, full-time commentator, not quite exactly, but thanks to the awesome support of many of the fans and especially people like Nicola, it definitely makes it closer to a reality, I'd say. Is Rachel the best player you've commentated for today? Rachel is the only player I've commentated for today. So yes. In your home country, what's up, Far Eastern? Have you been able to enjoy the chess festivities in Singapore? Yeah, this is Rachel's first time streaming over the board tournament, and this is going to be her first win. So finally, queens are off the board. She is up in exchange. Technically down a pawn, but she's going to be winning a piece with bishop e7 coming in hot. Nothing he can do. Thank you for being here, Justin. Pleasure's all mine. I could have just said yes, Cruz. That is true. She's up a pawn. She's up in exchange. She's technically down a pawn, but she's gonna win this pawn. I mean, if she doesn't even need to win the pawn, but she's just gonna win the game. The material doesn't matter anymore. She has enough of it. Videus, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. Bishop h6. Yeah, if only she could teleport, that'd be pretty good. But then maybe, I don't know, maybe this pawn could teleport here. That'd be pretty good. But then maybe her bishop would teleport here. That'd also be pretty good. I don't see any more teleportation that could help at that point. Maybe like king here. Because then you take the knight, but then you lose the bishop. Game on. Yeah, who knows? That's I'd still take white. You're still up in exchange there. Oh, you're adding a queen to the board? Bughouse. True. Yeah, but this game's a wrap. This guy, as soon as Queen F5 hit, and he thought for 20 minutes, that's kind of how, and he didn't find anything, man. He's like, all right, knight G6. It's like, no, that knight's gonna have to come back to the back rank, right? Look at this. Queen's off the board. Rook's off. This is... Yeah, Pat's... I guess... What were we saying? If you could teleport... Yeah, if you could teleport the bishop to h6, you'd rather teleport the rook to h8. I guess that's a good point. But maybe you're not allowed to teleport with checkmate. Anyways, doesn't matter. Players shake hands. Our opponent has resigned. Rachel's in the win column now with another round later today. May or may not provide commentary from someone in the chat, perhaps. Unfortunately, I won't be able to because I think I will be asleep. So, hoping that for me. Gary with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you. Neon with the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to Rachel. She's tagged in my stream title, but I'll give her a shout out nonetheless. Honestly, really impressive game. Start to finish with the white pieces. She did great here. Shout out to Farzi in the chat as well. Good to see ya. Saying that he played poorly in the opening, but I think Farzi won, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but yes. Smiles now from Rachel. They've set the board back up, turned the clock off, and we might be getting Rachel to join for a interview. Screws, thank you for the 5 gifted. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let me see if we're gonna do an interview. Yes, Farzi is in the Singapore Open, actually. Cool stuff. The Singapore International Open. Fly got a gifted sub. Huge. You managed to get the dub. Very well done, Farzi. The streamer's doing well in Singapore. So maybe Ding should start a Twitch stream for himself. Imagine Ding asks Fide, like, hey, can I just set up a camera? Anyways, is it time to do full Joe Cam? Are you guys ready for this? We both missed it, Gilby. It's true. Dark Souls, David? Maybe. No, I think I'm gonna go get some food. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't go anywhere just yet. We will have an interview with the winner, Rachel. So if you guys have any questions, start thinking. Let me know what they are, in the chat, and I'll be sure to ask. Gremlin with a huge raid. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Gremlin. What's up, Gary? Thank you for the sub. Appreciate that. Gremlin, one of the best there is in the biz. For those of you tuning in just now, we're about to interview Rachel, who won her first game of the Singapore International Open. This was round 2. She's undefeated so far. Started off with a draw, but got the win here today. And we'll be going over the games shortly. But right now, let me bring her on. Hello. I can't hear you. Oh,
Can you hear
hi.
me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you
I can't see you though.
can you
That's
make
okay.
the camera? Oh, do you need to see me?
No, it's okay.
um, can you make your camera vertical or horizontal?
Yeah. Is that better? No. Is this better?
I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit. Okay, hold on. That's funny.
Okay, hold on. Let me go. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Can you
Oh,
see me now?
yeah.
Okay, let me. I'm gonna go
Let's.
somewhere where there's less people. Okay.
Oh my
I
God.
think we're.
Wait. I'm. I don't know why your camera didn't just like full. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It don't matter.
Okay.
All right. Hi.
How is this? Hi.
The stream was really smooth. I think the gameplay
Okay.
was a bit smoother. You definitely played some
Oh,
amazing chess. I think,
thank you.
yeah, first off, congratulations. Second off, I think my favorite move of the game was when you played d5.
Yeah,
That was a big
I
one.
think you.
Do you
Yeah, I
want to
got really
walk
chaotic.
us through how you were able
Yes.
to figure that out?
I don't know. I was looking at what was it? Knight H4. Sorry, there's so many people around here. Let me go over here. I was looking at Knight H4, to like get rid. I don't know. I wanted like that bishop for my dag, or I wanted the bishop on F5 to like get off the diagonal so my queen and my bishop could go there. But then like nothing really seemed to work, and then I was like, wait, if I play D5 and he takes, then I can just put the bishop on A4 and then I win a rook. And then if he doesn't take, then I can push to D6 and then yeah. So once I saw that, it took me a couple minutes to find that. But once I found that, I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna play D5. I was surprised he still played Queen D6 after I played C4, because I mean it's like quite obvious what I'm gonna do. I don't know what you think about that.
Um, yeah, I mean, he could have just gone straight to d7, right? And then really kind
Yeah,
of questioned. At that point, you still have to find this like d5 push.
right.
Um, and it would have been less good because you didn't have a pawn on c5. So that's a really important
Right.
detail. In
Yeah.
fact, you could have pointed out like his bishop to c7 move didn't actually make that much sense because he could have just gone queen d7 still right there.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the sacrifice on h3 actually was a little bit worrisome. Um,
Yeah. I didn't know what else to do because I saw that, but then I figured I could just play what was it? Bishop F4, but then I missed Queen G4 and I was just completely lost. So I was like, oh crap. And then after he took on H3, I was like, wait, I can't play Bishop F4 here. So I was like, I have to take back, but I'm scared. But I think I can pull through. I didn't see like an immediate win, so I thought I could hang on. I
well,
don't know if there was any point I was dead lost or not, but it
so
looked like there were a million traps.
after you had found d5, you went for the skewer, you took the exchange, and then you played rook e1, lining up your rook opposite the queen.
Yes.
And that's when he sacrificed. Were you looking at any bishop discoveries against the queen?
Yeah, I was looking at Bishop F4, but then I figured like any discovery, you just play Queen G4, and I didn't know what to do after that.
After queen g4, you needed to play bishop g3.
And then what if I think what if the bishop takes?
Bishop takes
Or
g.
was there
If bishop takes g3, then you take on h3.
okay. But then the bishop moves and there's a discovery, right?
Well, but your pawn on h3 attacks the queen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So bishop f4 was what I missed.
Bishop
Like it was fine.
f4, yeah, it was a winning discovery.
Okay.
So let's say if the queen just takes on h3, well, okay, let's say he trades rooks. Rook takes. You have knight takes, offering another queen trade,
Oh,
and then queen takes, and then you just take the bishop on g3, and then he could take that
and
pawn,
then
but
I'm
then you
just
have
up.
knight g2. Yeah, you're just up a rook there.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Okay.
but you're down 4 pawns, so it's like a lot of pawns.
Okay.
Um, but like their d pawn's really weak, and they don't have an attack, so that was an interesting chance for like a really weird imbalance. But that was what the computer was saying was best. Um,
I'm I saw bishop
is this
g3,
bishop?
but for some reason I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy. You took the bishop, which is fine, but the computer says that it's a draw, but only with perfect play, right? Which your opponent didn't play perfectly, so it was difficult. After queen takes on d5, they have to play knight e6. Otherwise, you have a slight advantage. So
Oh,
here's where they went for their g5, g4 idea.
yeah. And then I was like, hold on. I'm one wrong step here and it's like full of mines. I'm just dead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really thought that you would maybe consider taking on b7.
I did consider that for a long time. I just figured like I don't know. I didn't know what to do after rook d7.
Rook
Just
d7. Okay. Wait,
because
e7?
then I'd do discoveries and I'd have to move my queen back and then like you'd get an extra tempo.
Hmm. It wanted knight takes g5 there because your knight attacks. It's kind of wild, but let's go back maybe. Did you consider sacrificing the knight on g5?
I did. I just didn't know. Was it knight takes g5 and then what happens after pawn takes?
Then queen takes g5 check,
Okay.
and then they can like block with their knight, but then you just play queen g2, and that's all I wanted.
Oh.
Yeah. And that I think
This
is
was
um
that was definitely five. I feel like queen f5. I was, yeah. I don't.
yeah, I think
I could have done
what you ended up doing was actually better um
better.
because of how he messed up. Like you bring the rook to d1, which it's saying that's the second best, or sorry, it's
No.
saying
Okay.
so first best would have sacked the knight. Second best is to take on b7, but then third best is what you did, rook a d1, and they shouldn't play g4 because of the move that you found in the game that you played, queen f5, and now that really just kind of stops his whole attack, and this is actually a better position than if you had like sacked the knight earlier. Um,
Yeah,
so
because after the knight, but then I was thinking like bishop h6, and it's really hard for him.
yeah, there's no attack for him anymore once you get the queens off the board, and your rooks are just perfectly placed. And as you called it, bishop h6 is really good. Bishop d4 is also really good, and that's what ended up happening in the game. So here's where I think he had his longest think after queen f5. I think he missed this and realized that he has nothing, and he can't really afford to trade queens. So that's where he
Yeah.
comes up with knight g6, trying to play like knight h4, for example. But then you have the really nice bishop d4, and that kind of seals the game. So um, he trades rooks.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't have. But bishop d4 was really the last move that you needed to find, and you did it. So I don't know if you had anything else going on in your mind then.
I mean, just the time pressure. I was like, yeah, I think that move was like the most important because knight h4. I don't know. There was like a lot of moves that I did would have lost.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I realized I just like made sure like before every move I was like I need to keep that like e2 square as an escape square for my king, because like the perpetual. But then since the pawn was on g4, I didn't need to do that. Or so then I was like, okay, I can open the rook now because you can't perpetual me anymore.
yeah, that was really
So I
smart.
actually didn't consider. I was like, I need to play king e2, and then I was like, wait, I don't need to play king e2 anymore because there's no check. So then I was like, okay, bishop d4, and I think I have something. Yeah.
Yeah, the pawn on g4 uh, really prevents their perpetual ideas. So when your bishop
Yeah.
blocks their rook, your king can run to e2, as you said. But now that their pawn is on g4, they can't check you anymore. So now your bishop can open up, and that also helps trade rooks. He should have maybe cut the rooks on the board, but you're crashing through on f6, and he trades, and you get the back rank check. You trade queens, and shortly resigns after, right after you take on f6. There's no defense. So, really great game. I think everyone was really impressed, and I think this is some of the more impressive moves that we could expect for you to find, and you found all of the key moments. And I think we're all really happy for you to get your first win of many in this tournament.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Was there okay, was did he have like h5 at any point or was that not an idea?
H5, I think, could prolong the game a little bit, but then your bishop could still come into H6.
Right. Okay.
So like H
So what was
H5
what was the
instead of what? Like knight G6?
I don't know. I at some point I thought he had h5 in it. Um but okay, when you said it was completely like drawn by best play, what moves do you have to find? Like knight e6 and then
Instead of G5, yeah, the computer wants knight E6, but it wasn't clear what the follow-up is. So knight E6, and then like it wants you to take on B7.
yeah, I was gonna take on
It's like
b7 and
rook
play knight.
B8.
Eh,
Yeah.
but takes on b7 and then rook b8 and then I'm scared after that.
And then you
Because
can
the
come
knight's
back.
defending the bishop,
You can come back to D5. Rook takes
and then he
B2.
takes.
Rook A D1. It's saying like yeah, probably you don't even have to take on B. Like you could probably just play Rook A D1, right? Knight E6, Rook A D1. Uh, like Queen G4, King F1, Queen H3. You get to E2. Oh, you can't go to E2 is the point.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's saying that has that. I guess the knight on E6 is really important because it's gonna come to F4.
Right.
So after knight E6, there's no good way for you to stop, I guess, the Queen G4 check, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole point. Is your queen on D5 allows for knight F4 check if you ever run to E2. So at that point, they already have a perpetual, right? After knight E6, unless you could somehow stop Queen G4 check, or
Yeah.
you have to move the
Okay.
queen, maybe like Queen C4. No, but then you blunder your knight. So okay, that's why taking on B7 is one of the moves. It's complicated.
Okay.
I
Because at
guess
least you
what
still
if
keep
you go
the protection.
to E4, they have like F5. Uh
Okay.
yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. That's really why it wanted you to not take back on H3. It wanted this bishop F4 idea.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No.
yeah,
That would have just been like, in like, yeah.
yeah, 96
I,
is a really good defensive resource. Because if they go for
that was,
the checks now, then you run away,
yeah.
right? You get to E2, and it's no problem. But if they play knight e6, then your king's still stuck, and your queen's gonna get forked if you stay on d5. Because if your king ever gets to e2, then their knight lands on f4, and your bishop's pinned because they're rook. So like, yeah, that's a big threat. Is a perpetual. So that's why you gotta have to take on b7. Then you allow this rook b8 kind of counterplay.
I can't believe I missed bishop f4. Because the whole reason
Well,
why I played rook,
you
I
didn't
had
you saw it, but you didn't go for it. You missed
yeah,
you missed
queen, and then I thought I was losing, but
g
yeah,
takes h3
yeah, I
takes.
missed you.
It's even not that simple because you lose
Can't you
so many
take on like?
pawns.
No, actually, I don't know. I just like was scared by the discovery, but I guess like you can't really discover. You can't like take on f2 or play like bishop h2 or anything. Like a double check or anything. Like just take
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. There's no double check. Also, like their rook is hanging, right? So if they take on e1, then knight takes. You open up the queen as well. So they can get another 2 pawns for that bishop, but you should be pretty safe here. Um,
Okay.
it's not clear though, right? They have all these pawns in front of the king, so
Just storm. Yeah.
yeah, who knows?
The other side.
That's what the computer was saying is the best line,
Oh my god.
but um, I think they missed the 96 idea to try to get the four. It's kind of deep, but um, yeah, the problem is your king is so exposed after their sacrifice that they have those
Yeah.
perpetual chances. So 96
I was
is
like, what?
really their best chance for perpetual.
So there's nothing I could have done really against Perpetual after 96 if they found like 96
Well,
and
no,
4.
because you go queen takes b7, and then um,
And then d8 and then queen d5 and
yeah,
then
they have all. It's even saying
b2.
like h6 is a move, and then if you go like rook 81, then it wants this rook. But yeah, I wonder if you go like rook b1. No, it doesn't like you anymore. Oh, here's another reason why. What it wants is to mate you with a rook to g4. So any rook lift would be really good. So if you go like rook b1 to save your b pawn, like it wants rook d1 to help you control d4. But the whole
So then
idea of rook b8
yeah.
is so that they can play this rook to b4 idea. Um, it doesn't work here because you can block on d4. So
Got it.
what exactly was I thinking before this? Okay, takes on b2, I guess. Takes on b2 also covers e2, so they have another perpetual idea. So you go, what was wrong with e4 again? f5, yeah. You can go check, but then they can block rook b8. Yeah,
I'll
it's annoying.
avoid it if I just played bishop f4.
If you go
I'm kind of
here,
sad I
yeah,
missed
rook
that. That would
b4
have just
again.
been easy. Just, yeah.
Oh, and then queen g4. Then, yeah, they still have the perpetual. They're not taking on d4.
Where?
Okay, that's just mate. Anyways, yeah, it's a fun defense that the computer comes up with, but not really feasible for. So I mean 96 is a good move. Maybe they still find the perpetual after that.
Yeah,
Um,
96 was considering 96. I mean, I was considering knight e6, knight g6, or g4 or g5. Sorry.
but yeah, it's really deep. Like to see that and then realize that you needed to play bishop f4 instead is like
Right.
really deep. But anyways, okay. the camera.
So much going on. But at least it was a fun position to play. Maybe
Yeah,
not stressful, but fun.
and I think we're all very impressed with the results. I mean, maybe not so much the result, but more so the level of moves that you found with D5. Because if you don't play D5, then the sacrifice gets really tough. But then also like being able to find Rook A D1 because after G4 you have Queen F5, I think was also very impressive. So those are some of the favorite moves of mine throughout the game.
Thank you. Thank you so much for commentating.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Pleasure's definitely all mine. And I think you already have a lot of fans tuning in saying, when's your next game?
No. My next game is at 3 p.m. What time is it right now? It's almost 1. So like in 2 hours. I don't have a commentator for that though, so I'm just gonna put my camera and then you guys can commentate for me in the chat.
I think you might have had some volunteers during the chat or during the stream, but anyways, I'll let you
Oh,
figure that out. You got 2 hours. Hopefully, you can get some food, get some rest, get some prep, and hopefully get another dub and get 2 wins today. So best of luck, Rachel. Long term ahead of you, and thank you for sharing your game and your experience and streaming all of this. And hopefully, chess in Singapore has been fun.
yeah, no, it has. It's so cool. Like I finish the game and then I get my phone and then people, my friends are texting me. They're like, "Good job," and they already know what happened. It's so cool. And then just to have someone who's seen the game just like immediately be able to provide analysis is so cool. It's never. I mean, it's my first time streaming OTB, so it's so cool to have that. So thank you.
Yeah, first time, and we're lucky to see your first ever OTB win live streamed. So, congratulations once again,
Thank you.
and I'll let you get going before the next one.
Thank you. I will eat a bunch of food. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Yep. Thank you. Take care and good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Oop, I don't know what just happened, but hmm, maybe we'll just go to the. I don't know what happened to my camera. Oh, here it is. Anywho, let's find someone to raid, shall we? Thanks again, everyone, for being here. And shout out to Robbie tuning in, saying that he'll stream next. Kappa, you gonna stream a classical game in 2 hours? We'd all love to see it. I'm gonna raid. Who I'm gonna raid? I don't know if anyone on Rachel's stream has power to raid, but hopefully that would work out if someone does. Have a great weekend, Screws. Yes. Hi, Rachel. If you want to send the raid to someone, that'd be great. Thank you, David. All right, I'm gonna be back tomorrow streaming for Creator Cup, and hopefully Rachel can get some commentators as well for her future rounds. And yeah, thank you, Farzi. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.